Climbing over rocky mountains, skipping rivulet and fountain, passing where the willows quiver, passing where the willows quiver by the ever-rolling river, strolling with the summer rain, the summer rain. Okay, that's it. Daisies, number daisies, scaling rough. Okay,
that was it in the sense that it's very much not it.
Yeah, I didn't know RJ was gonna keep going. Hi, welcome back.
It is, it's so beautiful out now.
How beautifully blue the sky.
As you are listening to this, I don't even know.
We don't know anymore. We don't know when we're listening to this.
I think this is end of September. I thought
this was the October 15th one.
It's either that or the September.
I think our next one will be our Halloween, I believe.
Spooky time.
It is near the spooky time, and so we have picked a pirates.
Perfect.
That's true.
Classic Halloween costume.
Classic Halloween costume for kids and adults.
And adults alike.
Yeah.
Everyone can enjoy pirates.
Honestly, we're going to have to discuss how this production might have brought pirates back to the forefront of culture.
Oh, the cultural impact of pirates.
But Molly, how are you?
I'm great. The summer camp that I've been running for the last 9 weeks has wrapped up, so I'm wrapping up the summer type stuff. But I am not responsible for any children this whole week, which is lovely.
Oh, that's great.
Nice? Mm-hmm.
And we are not yet in San Diego, but soon to be.
Yet. I will almost definitely, by the time this is released, be living in San Diego.
Yeah. God forbid anything happens.
Do you have anything that you would want to tell yourself as you listen to this, the time of the release? Past Molly to tell
what's future Molly need to hear?
Or remind her.
Mm-hmm. Wear sunscreen.
I have been... It's a big change. It's a big transition to make this big of a move. And I've been equal parts excited and nervous, I feel like. And I just decided a week ago, I'm just going to be delusionally excited and I'm going to stop worrying about anything.
Yep.
So I hope that I'm just still in that phase. That's my hope for future me, is that we're just enjoying it and we're not worried about what a big decision we've made.
Absolutely. It's honestly big Adam and RJ, when we moved to Orlando, and we're just we're fully prepared. It doesn't matter.
Actually, fully not at all, because you were there to do a program and whatever, and I'm just sort of I think I'm gonna move here. So it's pretty different.
So maybe Adam and not me. I was fully parking cars, but Adam was I'll feel it out.
Yeah.
I'll see what happens.
I didn't have anything. It's fine.
That's what everybody says always. Only move if you can park cars.
It's the classic saying.
Yeah.
I love that idiom.
I love it. It's in the places you'll go. It's right at the end.
It's my favorite page of the places you'll go.
RJ, before we move on into the episode, I would like to check in for an RJ medical moment. Beep 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 beep. Any news on the medical front?
I've been keeping a tracker of just I check it off when I don't have either a foot flare or a migraine. So as of this recording, I am 28 days migraine free.
Hey!
And 7 days foot flare free. I had a slight flare 7 days ago, but I was able to control it right away, well enough that I could eat dim sum that night and go out. So
that was that night.
That was that day. Yeah. So I feel prepared now. If something
I made RJ walk
happen,
so much that day.
You can't eat dim sum.
Well, we could. We went outside. We went out. So had to.
Went out to get the dim sum.
Yes, went out. Walk from
Well, he eats with his feet. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've ever
only dim sum. Only dim sum.
Yes, only when it comes to dim sum.
Traditional way of gotcha.
Absolutely. I love my hot feet in the steamer basket.
Oh God.
Picking up dumplings.
It's the worst food to eat with your feet. I guess something very saucy would be worse, like an Indian dish. I guess would.
Yeah.
Listen, it depends on who you're asking. Some people, I think,
depends on what you're looking for out of the situation.
Right. Yeah. Are we asking Quentin Tarantino? Because I'm sure he's got a preference.
He does, and it's always dirty feet. It's a running through line in his film. It's very weird. Okay. RJ, now that you're healed and migraine free, you should be able to,
you're ready.
within a minute or less,
oh my God,
quickly summarize the plot of a very simple musical.
Very simple.
Do you know what? I think, RJ, I think the goal for this one, if we're not going to make it in a minute, because I just don't think we are, I think we should go for the even pacing.
Okay,
Let's go for the even pacing. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, your time starts now.
Baby Frederick and his nurse Ruth live in a ship serving the Pirate King, the leader of the infamous pirates of Penzance, a crew that pillages and wreaks havoc unless it is a fellow orphan like themselves. When he turns 21 and is free of servitude, he decides to leave the pirate life and wed the only woman in his life, Ruth. He discovers maidens and quickly leaves Ruth behind. The maidens are first afraid of him, but the beautiful Mabel pities him and decides to marry him so he can be set on a virtuous path. But the pirates come, and they try to pillage the women, but the maidens' father, the Major General, comes to save them by telling a lie that he's also an orphan. Later, the Major General has a heavy heart that he lied, and the Pirate King and Ruth, now a pirate, tells Frederick that because of his leap year birth, he is 4 years old and therefore still under pirate duty. As a pirate again, he tells the Pirate King that the Major General is not in fact an orphan, so the pirates attempt to get revenge. The Keystone Cops protecting the town also try to fight the pirates, and chaos ensues in their little town, but everyone finds common ground in their duty to the Queen, so all is forgiven. Mabel and Frederick can wed, and so do everyone else. Was that a minute?
I think it might have been right
Just
on.
right on the
That,
cusp.
I looked at it was 13 when he started, when I looked at it, and it was 12 when he ended.
Okay.
I think he did it in time.
Okay.
RJ, I thought you were. I didn't realize you didn't cut your previous drafts from the.
Yeah. Oh, so you thought that all of
So I
this
thought
was
all of that, and I was like, okay, if that's
Okay,
what you want,
girl.
girl, all right.
Okay, girl.
That was amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. I think I was still. So I wrote a first draft doing a bit that it's centered around Ruth, and I hit a standstill because
It is
just
not
like-
centered around
just
Ruth.
like yes, because it's not centered
Because
around.
spoiler alert, it's not about Ruth.
And then I looked at Adam and I was like, I think I have to write it centered around Frederick, and he was like, yeah. And that honestly, it wrote itself after that. So.
Wow.
I would quibble with a couple of facts in your
Yes.
summary, however.
This is definitely
that-
like peanut butter in my mouth, trying to remember. Like, it was something with this, and
Yeah. Trying to
Yeah, it's-
remember the movie he barely watched last
I
night.
was
Yeah,
half
yeah.
watching.
It's important. One is that they do not try to pillage the maidens. I don't even know if you can pillage a person. But
It's
that they want to marry them, because
Marry
that's the
them.
whole joke, is that you think the pirates are going to rape them, but their whole thing is
They're-
they're like, call
they
a
want-
parson, all that I want is matrimony.
Yes.
So that's a difference. And then
you.
also, he's not 4 years old, it's that he's only had 4 birthdays. That's very important.
He's 5 years old and a little
Five
bit
and a little
over.
bit
five and a
over.
little over.
He's
Something
had
like that.
five birthdays, so he is 21 years old, but he's had 5 birthdays, and the contract is written so that it is on his 21st birthday,
Birthday.
not when he is 25 years old.
Therefore, the paradox that he is in.
A paradox,
Therefore,
a
there is
paradox,
a
the most
paradox.
ingenious paradox. Ha 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 ha
Ha,
ha
ha,
ha
ha,
ha
ha, ha, ha,
paradox.
Russ.
I think the strategy of like just even pace. I think definitely helps. So thank you.
I think you were truly
my
inspired
linguistics
by
coach Molly. Thank you so much.
Molly. I
Voice
thought it
of
was
dialect.
the
Voice of
Major
dialect.
General, honey.
Oh,
I
that's
was-
where you
yes,
got it.
I was
Yes,
inspired.
Inspiration.
I am a very model of a person who summarizes things.
So I have to start by saying that I have been in this. I was in the pirate chorus. Junior year in high school, we did a winter musical and a spring musical. So this was our winter musical. There were too many of us in the cast. Famously, we never said no to casting people. So I believe there were 90 of us in the cast.
Just a tight 90.
A tight
90.
90.
Just a simple black box play, honestly.
Right, and in the spirit of many high school productions, I'm sure with Pirates of Penzance, girls played many of the roles that were not intended for girls. Not the principals, obviously, but like half the pirates. I'm pretty sure most of the Keystone Cops. And
Which
then-
honestly, while watching this one, I kept being like, "Are those the maidens?" Something about them. I was like,
There were a couple cops that I was like, I think it might be a woman that's playing that cop, but that's awesome. Great. Yeah.
it's a great show to be in. It's a lot of fun. If you ever have a chance to be in your
Yeah.
local community production, I recommend.
So I will say, Adam was obnoxious when watching this,
So obnoxious, and I do not regret it at all.
singing along, karaoke mic.
Yeah. I'm holding a mic in front of me, and yet I still
Yeah, you
a
motioned to
panto and
karaoke.
holding a mic. Great.
The art of panto.
The art of panto.
I today had to I was hosting a Zoom session that was dropped by, so mostly nobody was coming. So I was there with my boss, and I told her that I had with Cat Like Tread stuck in my head, and then I would just start to quietly hum it.
Honestly, yeah.
But ironically, this is at a time when I was like very convinced that because I was a tenor, all tenor roles should have been mine.
Yeah.
So I
you were
wanted
like,
to be
"I'm
Frederick, and now watching it, I'm like, I should have been the chief keystone cop in a way that's like very clear. But
Yeah.
it wasn't. Alas, alack and alas, it was not the moment for me. But I still had fun. It was a great show. RJ.
So I just kind of like generally knew that Gilbert and Sullivan like was famous for operettas and patter songs. And so I didn't really see parts of Penzance until we were in musical theater repertory class in college. And the first like genre that we did were Gilbert and Sullivan songs. Adam and I performed a song for Mikado, but like just during that time, Adam was like, "Oh my God, you're gonna love Pirates of Penzance." So we watched it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was on Netflix at the time.
I think so, yeah.
And we watched it, and I like fell asleep during Act 2.
Sure did.
But
Act 2 is weak.
Act 2
I'll just say it.
I told
Yeah.
Adam, I was like, they blew all their load in Act 1. Like the bops are just all in Act 1.
Every song in Act 1 is a bop. It's great.
Yeah, it slays.
So
Gilbert and Sullivan, the original Beyonce.
That's what they're known as.
That's what they're known as.
Yeah.
So that was really my the first time I saw this. But I will say in high school, I also was in an acting musical theater class, and all the boys learned with Cat Like Tread, and so I knew that number and performed that for like our final or whatever. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Molly.
So I can't believe this is the first time that this has come up, but we did this show at Light Opera Works when I worked there the summer after we all graduated from college, which was probably the most formative employment that I've ever had. So I was working as one of the three
Camp Kids Caught Dead. Wow. My
No,
God.
it was so I had finished college. I didn't think I wanted to be in education at all with drama. And I worked at this camp where there were three like full staff. There was a stage manager, a choreographer, director, and then a music director. And then there were three like, I don't think we were interns, but we were like just like new, fresh out of college, like staff that sort of our job was mostly like kid support versus like directing the shows.
Wranglers, yeah.
We were the kid wranglers, and we would do like 30-minute or hour-long musicals. We would put them on over the course of a week. And it was like 8 to 12-year-olds, and they would like switch off roles so that we would have like 12 different Fredericks over the course of a musical, right? And they would have like a hat or something that would signify that character that they would like pass over so that everybody got their like sunshine, spotlight. That's the word I wanted. Moment to shine. Anyway, and it was the best job I ever had because it made me realize that I wanted to do drama education. And so it is the thing that set me on the path that I am now on. So it is not in spite of all of the children that I worked with.
That I have worked with since.
which is, by the way, because I was preparing an impact report today, 543 children that
my
came through our
God.
camp this summer. Yeah. Anyway, so we did this. It was so fun. I believe Light Opera Works is now rebranded to Music Theater Works, which is like a bummer because Light Opera is like a way better name. And it's so fun that this was an actual light opera that I did there. But my favorite part of it was that my like favorite camper all summer, who is this amazing kid who was like, I want to say 7. And he was like kind of a genius, and he could speak multiple languages. He would speak like Russian with his nanny, but he also had a speech impediment where he couldn't say his R's. And he got cast as the Pirate King, and so he had this whole speech where he was like, "We sure will miss you, Fwedwick," and it was the cutest thing I've ever seen. And so, yes, I always think of him and him saying Fwedwick every time.
His Russian had to be cute too, because I feel like Russian is a very hard R language.
I for sure don't know nearly as much of anything about Russian to make even the beginning of a comment on that.
Yekaterina Petrovna Zamolodchikova. But your dad just calls me Katya.
Katwa.
Molly, you've written a note on our little.
I sure have.
What's going on?
I think it would be fun to do a little game before
Okay.
we get into the background, because this is such an iconic little operetta that we all know so well that we all have to guess the favorite songs of our fellow co-hosts.
No one's gonna get mine, but okay.
Okay.
Okay. I think Molly's is Major General.
No.
Because I think she respects the craft of the patter.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
I think she likes Major General. I don't think anyone's favorite song is Major General. I think it's too
Giving us hints
think. No.
around.
Yeah.
You
I'm
said
only
I don't
saying
think anyone's,
titles.
which means not yours. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying titles so we can like figure out through context clues.
I am a poker player. You certainly will not be figuring it out.
I think it's
My reactions.
my guess is that Molly's favorite song because Kevin Kline is a sleigh in this movie. And there's no way we're walking away from this conversation not all agreeing on that.
Yeah.
Just absolutely slobbering over Kevin Kline.
well, the director told him to play a pirate, and he heard slay a pirate, and that's what he did.
Yeah.
So,
And I think Molly's favorite song is Pirate King. For I am a Pirate King.
Molly, what's the answer?
Do I reveal it now?
Yeah.
My favorite song is Cat Like Tread.
Oh, wow.
You said you were humming it, so I
did say
actually
I was
should have
humming
known.
it. Yeah.
But I was thrown off by your
Absolutely
comment
love it.
earlier that you thought all the songs in Act 1 were the good ones.
Yes.
So.
A classic red herring.
There's
the classic Molly
one
red herring.
Huge exception to that, which is
That
Cat
is
Like
true.
Tread.
I will say, having been in it, Cat Like Tread is the best,
It's the best
song
number to
Oh,
do.
yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so much
Oh,
fun.
because the part of what to know about Light Opera Works is that we would do a few musicals and we have like a week off where we would learn all the music for all of the upcoming ones so that we could be there and help the kids learn it.
Oh,
and so
cute.
I got to learn all of the music in it as part of that job. So because it is so fun to be in. Mm-hmm. right.
RJ.
RJ?
I think I really think it could be Climbing Over Rocky Mountains. I'm thinking of the other songs, and I think that's the one I think I'm gonna go with.
So we know that RJ loves a chorus number.
It's true.
This is a known fact.
Known fact.
So I feel like it's got to be, there's three real options, which is Pirate King, Tarantara, or Cat Like Tread.
Oh.
I want to say Cat Like Tread because it's my favorite, so it makes the most sense to me, but I want to, for variety, I'm going to go for Pirate King.
RJ? I'm right, aren't I?
It is Climbing Over Rocky Mountain. It is I Want to Be a Maiden. I want to play all the maidens. I love it. I will say Paradox is a tight number 2 because I also love
We're gonna have to talk about Paradox.
Not chorus,
very
but
not
yeah.
chorus. I feel like it's my favorite character-driven song.
It's also not original to Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, gasp!
It's a little spoiler.
A
for
little
what's
spoiler.
coming up.
So yeah, it's climbing for me. It's the girls for me.
Yeah.
Because I love K-pop girl groups, and you know the originators of girl.
I was going to say Climbing for Adam.
For Adam,
I thought that was definitely his favorite, since you get to pick the opening song. So I thought that was, but then you also said that we weren't going to get it. So I feel like it's got to be a deeper cut.
Yeah. I think because Adam is such a little slut for an ingenue song, I think it's Poor Wandering One.
I'm wondering if it could be. Yeah, especially the way you just reacted. Like, maybe not.
Interesting.
Because Adam, like many Midwestern gay men like himself, has like a idolization on
Are
pining
you going to
with-
like pull some sort of a stunt where you're going to be like, it is but only the reprise or something?
the little tag at the end of the show.
So,
There's a 12-second piece of piano.
just when she's trilling along with the like off
The bird,
stage bird or whatever.
Yeah.
So I have two answers. So my original real answer is a song that they did not put in the film. So it's in the show.
Oh.
It's How Beautifully Blue the Sky, and it's right after she sings Poor Wandering One. They kind of like fall in love very quickly. Classic operetta. And they're doing like a little love moment, and the sisters are all in the back pretending to like watch the
sky,
the ocean and the sky, but they're
like,
actually like listening in on the conversation.
Cute.
It's very
Okay.
cute. So they have like this really quick, the sisters have this really quick patter song, and then it goes to like this slow melody for the two of them, and it bounces back and forth. It's very fun. It is not in the movie, unfortunately. So yes, my favorite in the movie is Poor Wandering One, because Linda Ronstadt.
Oh my God.
She left no crumbs.
That set is gone, honey. Honey. Oh my God, I cannot talk today.
Perfect. What a day to do a pod.
I know.
What are you going to do a podcast when I cannot speak?
This is fun. I liked this little game. I don't know if it would work for every movie, because I Girl.
We all have to be unified, and I feel like an excitement for the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was the last one where I was like, I don't know anything
Across the universe.
Oh,
Well,
girl.
Because
A
it's
Beatles?
Beatles.
A Beatle?
How could you
Who
have ever
knows?
heard a Beatles song before? I mean,
Beatle Bailey?
it's an impossible task.
I can't wait for the fan mail, the hate mail that we'll get of like, you don't know this one.
I think, honestly, most people would not be shocked that we are not very well versed.
Also, honestly, if someone sent us a single email, I would be so
thrilled.
regardless of the content.
thrilled.
I will say when
If somebody left a review, I'd be thrilled.
I will say when we were watching the movie and I posted a story that it'll be a Showgays episode. Someone did say, "Oh no, I unironically loved Across the Universe," and I was like, "Yeah, I know.
I'm there to represent them.
Yeah.
We got all. It takes all kinds.
It takes all kinds.
Mhm. The right ones and the wrong ones. So let's talk about Pirates of Penzance. So
We haven't really yet. So
we haven't really discussed. I was under the assumption that Molly was gonna school us.
My
and so now I'm gonna drag her publicly on this podcast.
Oh my god!
Because she was like, "I've got the history, girly," and I said, "By all means,
Don't
Sorry,
even.
pull up the receipts. Pull up the receipts.
She.
And I quote, "I've got it, girly."
Don't even
smooch face
look.
emoji.
No.
Don't even
no,
think
no.
about looking at Gilbert and or Sullivan because I've got her in the bag.
Yeah. It's
I
giving
can cover.
research.
I said I can cover the Gilbert and Sullivan stuff if you want to cover the production history for the movie. That does not mean I have an entire segment prepared in order to explain Gilbert and Sullivan.
It's funny because Adam was like, we were like trying to like talk through like how to do that, and we were like, I think that means
I just focus on the New York production, the 1980 production.
movie, and she'll do like the brief like explanation of.
No,
like, who
I
Gilbert
thought
and Sullivan.
that when we first started this podcast, the agreement was you.
Bring
back in the history.
Bring back the napkins from Sidetrack where we wrote our notes.
I thought that the deal was that you were going to cover like how the movie got made information versus I would do more like
which you
further
did,
back.
yeah.
You said the 1980 New York production. That's not the movie.
Well, that's
I have the production that leads into the film.
Gotcha.
Because
Okay.
this is straight pulled from a actual production.
an actual production.
Great. See, I don't know that because I didn't read the movie. But I will tell you a little bit about Gilbert and Sullivan for all of our operetta newbies, okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
Doily Cart.
Doily
Huh?
Cart, thank you. So, Gilbert is a lyricist and humorist, and Sullivan is the composer who were brought together by, I think it was Richard Doily Cart, who was a producer at the time, whose whole deal was like, I want to make opera as popular in England as it is in France. So he paired the two together. They wrote 14 operettas or light operas together, which are distinct from operas in that there are spoken segments in between the music, and they're generally considered sort of the bridge between opera and musical theater that we now have it. So it sort of sits right in between those two things. And it's distinctive because of the fact that people talk, but also the fact that it is more comedic. It's a lot less serious than most operas are. Obviously, there are some more comic operas as well, but this is lighter and more absurd than even sort of the most comic operas that exist. So it's like bending the genre in that way. And a lot of their stuff was really making fun of British aristocracy and their like particular hang-ups and foibles, and they would sort of take these ideas and take them to their most absurd conclusion to make it clear to you how silly some of the concepts of things like duty were. So like in this particular example, Frederick's whole deal is like, when I am underneath the care of the pirates, what's the word for what he is?
When he's apprentice?
Apprentice. When he's apprentice to the pirates, he's like, I have to be totally loyal to the people who I've apprenticed to. I'm going to always act in your best interest. But the moment I turn 21 and I'm not apprenticed to you anymore, then my whole entire duty is going to be to scourge the earth of you and to entirely end your careers. And so that idea that somebody could be like that switch to quick on a dime, that they would be that devoted to their duty, that kind of thing was what they were making fun of. And also the idea that the pirates would have such a high code of honor that they would maintain things like, for instance, just loving the queen so much that just invoking her name would immediately resolve all of the plots. So that was their whole deal. And I can tell you a little bit more specifically now about Pirates of Penzance. Do you feel, Adam, have I done well?
That's great,
enough?
Molly. Thank you so much.
Yes. Great.
Nana's very appreciative that you explained that.
Yeah.
Yes. So what's interesting about Pirates is that the opera that they had written just before this, or operetta, was HMS Pinafore. And Pinafore is known for having this huge craze around it, where everybody was doing it, but more importantly, many people were pirating Pinafore. Many of them were not paying rights or like doing the actual production. They were doing knockoff versions basically of Pinafore. And that was because the idea of intellectual property and like you would actually need to do the proper version kind of hadn't quite come to fruition yet. And so it was actually, Gilbert and Sullivan were very integral in kind of like establishing some of our modern copyright concepts because they were upset about this. And you can see at the very beginning of this movie, when it first opens, we actually see like a marquee with HMS Pinafore on it. And you can see there's a British flag with Queen Victoria and then an American flag with some old president, whoever was president at the time, I'm sure, and that they're playing HMS Pinafore. And that was a reference to the fact that when Gilbert and Sullivan came over to America at the height of the Pinafore craze, they were met by a bunch of ships that were like waving British and American flags and playing pirated versions of HMS Pinafore songs. And so there was like no shame in the idea that we're ripping you off. It was like, hooray! Do you want to come see how we like made a bunch of money off of your music without you benefiting in any way? Isn't this a fun time? So it's a reference to that. And the author of the article that I read for today's podcast, because I did read an article, okay, I'm not falling down on my responsibilities here, thank you very much, talked about the fact that, or like speculated, like maybe this gave them the idea to write something about piracy, but it's very much like a literary piracy. It's like a by the book, by the law kind of piracy. And that maybe that what was on their mind was the idea of stealing sort of concepts and words from people rather than pillaging actual valuable objects. So that's one piece of info. And then the other really interesting thing I learned is that the libretti of the operettas used to be published ahead of time. And that was often like people's first and sometimes only interaction with the operetta was the publication of the lyrics for it. So it's really sort of like a literary first genre at this time that everyone would have these pamphlets and you would actually bring it with you to the theater and you would read along as it was happening. So there are like reviews at the time where they talk about the fact that the music would get like interrupted by the crowd all turning their pages together. So I watched this with captions, which I often do anyway, but I tried to like very much make sure that I had captions on for this one because I was like, well, I need to get the full 1880s experience where I have the words up, which I feel like does explain to me a lot of like so much of Gilbert and Sullivan is the wordplay. God. Knowing that the intention, like how they imagined it being consumed was with the words in front of you makes a lot of sense because that is so central to what is enjoyable about the musical.
So I won't even get into it yet, but it is wonderful to like in your head like try to catch up to what they're doing, especially like Major General, which is already doing something at a pace which is like unparalleled, and then like the jokes within it are also very like funny. They are very British to me in that it's like you have to think about it to like find it funny, but it's great.
Takes a while. One more piece of information that I will reference my doctoral dissertation since Adam decided to call my research into question. That Oily Cart is a theater in the UK, specifically London, that are the pioneers of sensory theater, which is the topic that I wrote my dissertation on, and they are named in honor of D'Oyly Carte, the producer that put Gilbert and Sullivan together. Don't do any light opera. Not totally sure why that was what they decided to make their name. But they were founded in the 70s as just like a theater for the very young company. And so I think maybe just that spirit of play and Gilbert and Sullivan would be my guess as to what they were trying to reference. So everyone look up Oily Cart and then come read my dissertation. Thanks.
Adam, didn't you see like a fun, playful Pirates of Penzance?
I saw a production in Chicago back in college,
my
and
God,
I
what is the
truly do
name?
not remember which theater company did it.
It's the one
I
that
love
does
that you
like
said
the
a playful version of it versus of the very
the
somber
very
film.
Stodgy.
serious.
Stodgy. Yeah,
It
yeah.
was there was an immersive show from
Yes.
It's
that
that
one
one.
company that does all the
that
immersive
does,
shows.
That
Mhm.
does the different Gilbert and Sullivans.
No, I thought there was because didn't they also do 12th Night that we saw?
I didn't
see 12th Night.
I just remembered the
I don't remember which theater company did it, and that's my bad. I should have like double checked.
But it was like it's just like a small cast, right?
Yeah, there were maybe 12
Oh,
total.
okay.
But yeah, it was very small. It was very good. It was
Hypocrites.
in like
Hypocrites.
I was like rattlesticks, something like that.
Yeah, the rattlesticks.
Yeah.
That famous company.
The old rattlesticks.
That's my favorite password to get into the Gryffindor common room. Yeah, it was a very good show. It's very fun. They did it with like ukuleles. They did not do like a full instrumentation. So it was,
I
Ukuleles
saw
were
this too.
big.
Did we not see it together?
I did not
RJ
see it.
did not see
I
it.
think you.
But
I
you
know,
and I
but
probably
I saw it. Yeah.
Was it freshman year or
No,
sophomore?
I think we were older than that. Yeah.
Did we have to watch a show for DSTP? That wasn't it. Or people chose different shows to see.
My memory of going to see it was that it was
We
like
weren't in the same
later.
DSTP.
We were just
Molly
into.
and I.
I think we were just like we just liked the Hypocrites and immersive theater. I think we just saw it for fun because we wanted to, not because it
Yeah,
was assigned.
I know there was a group. I know Angela went. I remember Angela was there.
Because I think Lee did lights for that, or someone we knew worked with.
He was super
tangentially
involved,
with
I think,
it.
with the
Yeah,
Hypocrites. So it suggest that we go see their shows.
Director of theater, Lee.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I want to tag on to the original production of Pirates of Penzance, just in like my brief skimming by as I looked for the 1980 production, was it actually opened in New York first, and then it opened in London the following year. Also, the year it opened, RJ, would you like to take a guess? Original Pirates of Penzance? Molly probably could have a range, but I wanted
She
to know.
said 1880 something. Is that close?
1879.
1879. There you go.
I was guessing because they got together in 1871 and had written several shows before it, so I was approximating 1880s, but I was pretty close.
Well, you know, back then when they didn't have anything else to do, they probably just cranked out one every like 6 months, to be
Oh,
honest.
true. Very easy to write this kind of work, so I'm sure it
Yeah.
didn't take them very long.
Yeah.
Great. So the 1980 New York production was produced by Joseph Papp and the Public Theater. It premiered at Shakespeare in the Park, which is the annual summertime theater, not festival, but like theater thing that happens in Central Park. And it's free. Friedrich wants to talk. Excuse me. He's mad because we keep saying Frederick.
That's true. Friedrich, come here. Come here.
You got so mad at me when I visited you in Florida and I called him Frederick. I didn't mean to.
You should have called him Fwedwick.
That would have been better.
Yeah, Shakespeare in the Park, I think it just is an outdoor theater that just does productions every summer, right?
But is it always the Public Theater that does it? I think it does.
I think Public is the producing art, yeah.
And they've done a lot of famous ones, but like there was the
and it's free.
Yes. There's a televised or like a pro shot version of oh my god, the Shakespeare one with
we just saw it
the two Daniel Brooks. Oh my god, the two.
I don't know why
you gotta tell me more about the plot and not who was in it.
It's the guy and the girl. They hate each other. But they end up being together.
Much Ado About Nothing.
Much Ado. Thank you. There's the Much Ado. There was the Into the Woods.
It's also the plot of Taming of the Shrew, to be fair.
but Much Ado is famous for the bickering that they have
Yes.
in a different way than Taming of the Shrew.
Yeah.
Different vibe.
They did the Into the Woods with Donna Murphy. They did the Hercules. That was
They also did they were like, I think they did Hamilton before it was actually on Broadway.
Yeah, that wasn't Shakespeare in the Park, but yes, Public Theater did.
The Public Theater,
yeah. So it was such a success that they ended up transferring it to Broadway in 1981, in January of 1981, and it lasted for 787 performances, which is, for a Gilbert and Sullivan piece, you're not paying rights to anybody. It's pretty crazy.
Listen.
Bringing it in, yeah.
But
a producer's dream.
It was nominated at the Tonys in 1981 for 7 Tony Awards, and it won 3. So it was nominated for Best Leading Actor for The Major General, Best Leading Actress for Linda Ronstadt, Best Featured Actor for the Keystone Cop, Best Choreography, and then it won Best Direction, and the director also directs the film, Best Leading Actor for Kevin Kline, and Best Revival. So she walked away with some awards. Linda Ronstadt's only Broadway appearance This is her only Tony nomination. This is her only film role. This is iconic. This is so. What's so crazy to me about Linda Ronstadt is she's such an 80s legend.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then by the time we exist in the 90s, she kind of has disappeared.
Yeah.
Like she was
You know
like,
what I mean?
I'm doing my like
Celine Dion came in and we were all
Yes.
like, we've now moved to Canada. And
Yeah.
that
She's
was,
like,
that was
let
the
me just
cultural
make my like
consciousness.
my Latin music in New Mexico and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I mean, maybe I just don't know enough about her pop career, but like, I feel like this like hyper soprano thing was not her musical style at all.
It was like it's like almost folk, like, but with a little bit of like a pop beat to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I read a thing that she knew HMS Pinafore and really liked Pinafore. Like she knew that show, but she had never heard of the Pirates of Penzance before being asked to be in it, which is so cool.
Do you know what is actually wild though? Is that I've never seen Pinafore. I don't even know what it's about.
I've never seen Pinafore either.
And that's the one that was so famous and everything, but I feel like
Yeah.
Pirates has endured a little bit more maybe.
Yeah.
I agree.
I have a feeling HMS Pinafore, just literally based on the name alone, is probably more in British humor that you would have to like really be more culturally conscious of.
Maybe. Also probably maybe more sexist, guessing.
You don't think there's any sexism in this one?
Oh, there was not a trace. What are you talking about?
Not at all. So then they were like, well, they did the run on Broadway. They did a run in the West End.
Hits all around.
They did like a tour in Australia, and it was like the highest attended premiere of a musical up to that point in Queensland until the Phantom of the Opera happened, which is like, it's just so funny that it's like a show that's 100 years old at this point.
Yeah.
So let's move to the movie. So it's directed by Wilford Leach. Screenplay is also by Wilford Leach, which is, I don't understand, unless it's just like the changes, I guess.
Yeah,
are
like
attributed
just
to
like
him.
the set, just like the transitions and the set, basically the treatment so that it's a film script. And then
Oh, yeah. I guess you have to write down what you're planning, how you're planning to film it and stuff. But you would think the lines are almost all the same as Gilbert and Sullivan.
it was more just like putting in like what the interiors look like and like what the actions cut to.
Based on Pirates of Penzance, obviously, still produced by Joseph Papp, Timothy Burrill, and executive produced by Edward R. Pressman. Does everybody know? I just looked this up literally 10 minutes ago before we started. More than 10 minutes ago at this point. The difference between a producer and an executive producer.
Isn't the executive producer just like the major funding source?
Oh, go ahead, Molly.
Oh, I thought producer was kind of like a line that gave you like rights to like residual, like it was like a financial arrangement and also gave you some power, but executive producer was like the person who's actually at the top of the food chain, who's like in charge of stuff. That's how I've always understood it.
So I thought the same way Molly did, because I think the word executive makes it seem like it's more important. So the producer is the most important person. The producer is like
decision makers.
They're like more they're not as creative as like the director, obviously, but they're more on that side of the world. The executive producer is the one who goes between the production and the like line holders for like funding to be like, hey, we're gonna try to do this thing, so we need a little bit more money, and then goes around and like shows off what the show's gonna be to get more funding for it.
They are the primary fundraiser for.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the producer is really just like moving the.
And so in a film, if a production company, if a distributor is like also the production company, so like 20th Century Fox is producing and distributing the film, usually a top executive at 20th Century is going to be listed as the executive producer. So there you go. That's just fun facts for everybody, because I never knew, and now I do. It stars Kevin Kline as the Pirate King, Angela Lansbury as Ruth, Linda Ronstadt as Mabel, George Rose as the Major General, and Rex Smith as Fwedowick. The cinematography is by Douglas Slocombe. It is edited by Ann V. Coates. The music is by Sullivan. The production company is St. Michael Finance Limited and Timothy Burrill Production.
Oh, everyone needs to know that for sure.
We all love them. We all love their work.
Mm-hmm.
It's distributed by Universal Pictures. It was released in the United States on February 18th, 1983. It runs at 112 minutes.
The fatal flaw.
The fatal flaw. And we do not have an estimation of its budget because it wasn't like a massive film anyway. But I do know that it was a box office flop because it came in at $694,000 as what it made. So that's a bummer. But I bet you're wondering now why? Because I don't think this movie's bad. And the critical reception for this movie is actually very positive, and it holds an 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, not to spoil the critics session. So why, dear readers, did this movie not make money? It's because they were like, well, we're going to release it in theaters, but also we're going to do a pandemic momie, and we're going to also release it on HBO Max at the same time, aka we're going to release it on TV. So almost all theater owners in America boycotted the film because they were like, well, everybody's just going to want to watch it at home. They're not going to come out to see the movie. So it only had its widest release at 92 theaters.
Crazy.
What is a usual, like, a wide release? How many theaters would that be?
Well, 92 is usually a limited release, right? Or like
92 would be like you're releasing it in 3 cities in America to gain traction.
To get,
Normally, like a wide release now, I don't know what a wide release in 1983 would be, but a wide release now is like 4,000 theaters.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's, a bit different. I would say probably then it's probably around 2,000, but even still, that's like a massive difference.
Yeah.
And I pulled the number 2,000 right out of my butt. So, that's why people
Truly
don't...
based on no facts.
No facts. Yeah. And honestly, it's just all vibes on this podcast.
All vibes.
And that's important to remember. But I thought that was very interesting and strange. However, I talked about earlier how I was like, Little Miss Pirates had a moment, and I just mean the genre of pirates, not this film necessarily. So this production did so well in New York that people got excited about swashbuckling pirates again. Like this was like had not been a thing in like the 60s and 70s. So it kind of came back to the forefront. So 20th Century Fox heard that Universal was taking the Broadway production and making a movie of it. And they were like, we're going to do... This is so stupid. We're going to beat them to the punch. And they made a movie called The Pirate Movie, which came out 6 months before the Pirates of Penzance film. And it is like an adaptation of the Pirates of Penzance, but like original music. And it's crazy. I was looking at it's apparently bad. It's apparently not good. But
well, because they saw Pirates of Penzance and thought, let's take the music out of this?
Right.
But honestly, isn't it like very much like, akin to Pirates of Penzance creation of pirating metaphor?
Mabel is an American teenager. It's
across the universe.
I like glance
across the universe for Pirates of Penzance.
I glanced over the summary and I was like, this is bonkers. So, you never know what could show up on Showgays one day. You just never know.
No, I won't. I won't.
Molly won't show up. Molly won't show up.
Molly, we made you watch Mamma Mia, so I think you'll be fine.
I've gone through enough. Thank you.
Every year, Molly gets one Mamma Mia.
We made you watch Carousel. This can't be harder to watch than Carousel. So anyway, I thought that was very funny because...
Any stars?
That's a great question. So the chorus in this film are all British actors, like the people who are not... I don't know if you noticed in the credits for the film, but it was like, this character was this person sung by another person, and it was like, but they're not even like important, so why didn't you just have them play... Why didn't you just find a singer?
Yeah.
So the voices are the entire Broadway cast. But because they filmed this in London, they only brought over the leads. So everybody is lip syncing to people that are not them, which is like wild.
Yeah.
And I feel like probably could have been solved a better way, but whatever, I guess. Allegedly, John Travolta lost out to Kevin Kline for The Pirate King.
Good.
Rightly.
Yeah. It doesn't really make sense to me why this would have happened. I mean, I guess it makes sense in that, like, John Travolta was, at this point, Grease was the biggest...
But was it because this is like to do the film version? They were like, instead of taking Kevin, who did it on Broadway,
and won a Tony,
let's do John for a star.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, and we know the other Grease connection, right?
Rex. Yes. So
the guy,
Rex Smith, who plays Frederick, was the original Danny Zuko.
Oh, yes.
On Broadway.
On Broadway. But that didn't happen in Kevin Kline It lives on in celluloid to this day in this film.
Absolutely. One of the greatest decisions ever made.
This is a quote I really liked from Wilford Leach, who was the director. He said, "This might be a silent film comedy that suddenly bursts into song. Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, Jacques Tati, and Lillian Gish would all be at home here. This is a world without cynicism. There's no one in it we would not like to have to dinner." I just thought that was very, like, this is
Wow.
such the
sweet.
It's
Yeah.
such the charm of this movie is that
Yeah.
it's like so fake and not real that it's like everyone's just
Yeah.
playing. It's fun.
There was a moment where Adam was like, "This is a cartoon. This is the."
It's the closest
Closest
to
it
a
is.
real live action cartoon, and I don't know how
while
else to
I
say
was
it.
watching it, it was like I really want to watch this with my 7-year-old nephew because I feel like shoot, is he still 6? My 6-year-old nephew.
Wow.
I know. It's because he seems so advanced.
Well, who
Yeah.
knows by the time this comes out how old he'll be.
Really close to 7, but not quite.
There you go. There you go.
That I was like, I feel like that's like the perfect age to watch this because it's like you're just starting, I feel like, to watch things that aren't cartoons maybe, but that's still like
Mhm.
your primary reference for media. Yeah, it's such a delightfully absurd world.
Yeah.
This all
And
happens
everyone
in.
is so broad. There's not a straight character in this. Like, everyone is so big.
And yet again, filming a movie musical that looks like it's on a set. That's
Always
the way
wins.
that you do
So
it.
Always
good,
wins.
so funny. Just
Yeah.
like you're immediately like,
We're
I'm
leaning
sold.
in.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't have to like try to convince my brain. Any
Also,
other thing.
the painted drops are not it was like very clear they didn't even try to make them look realistic.
know.
Like, it's like we want them to look like you're on a set.
The
That's the
cliffs-
whole point.
The cliffs
Yeah.
look like enoki mushrooms. Those like really tall mushrooms. that
Oh
I'm like-
yes,
Yeah.
they like come in bunches.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a little rundown of all the films that were in theaters the week Pirates of Penzance came out.
Oof.
Because famously it did so poorly that it basically was only out for like 2 weeks or something like that. Except for one theater apparently in Washington D.C. where it ran for like 6 straight months.
Oh, good for her.
Because
Yes.
it was like their favorite movie. in
Absolutely.
DC.
Yes.
Yes.
So, I'm going to do this quickly because there's too many films. But Pirates of Penzance was number 14. Number 13, An Officer and a Gentleman. Number 12, The Year of Living Dangerously. Number 11, The Entity. Number 10, The Verdict. Number 9, Without a Trace. Number 8, E.T. Again,
Another.
she reappears in this podcast.
Is that the 37th week? Is that what that means? Do you remember what
I
those
don't
numbers
remember
mean?
what
Okay.
that is. Number 7, Sophie's Choice. Heard of her? Number 6, 48 Hours. Number 5, The Lords of Discipline. Number 4, Lovesick. Number 3, The Sting 2, which is a movie I didn't know had a sequel. I didn't know
Nope.
The Sting, Academy Award winning film, had a sequel.
Stung.
The Stung. Number 2, Gandhi. And number 1, Tootsie.
Oh, just two girls.
Just 2 girls, Tootsie and Gandhi.
Tootsie is the one where Dustin Hoffman plays a woman.
Correct.
Mhm. And Gandhi is the one where Gandhi is played by a white man.
Correct.
Isn't it Ben Kingsley?
Yeah.
Ben Kingsley has Indian heritage.
Oh, good for him. Okay. I feel a little
He's
less.
mixed. Maybe there's
Yeah.
mix feelings about him playing the character, but he
It's not
definitely
like
is
I
not
just
Miss
assumed
White.
he was like from the school of the Jonathan Prices of like he's the one white man that we allow.
we allow to be other ethnicities. So that was the rundown.
That's crazy.
Isn't that
What
fun?
a stacked week of movies.
Yeah, pretty much any movie you could have seen, you would have had a great time in the theater. So, shout out to 1983. Let's all go back in just this one way.
just be not formed entities yet.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Make movies 1983 again. How about that?
Well, I guess we should talk about the movie.
So the Pirates of Penzance.
Stars Ruth.
I'm going to off the bat. I know I usually say this for the end, but I'm going to off the bat say that the best part of this movie literally is Kevin Kline. Although there are so many people that are just as brilliant, and it's like a fool's errand to pick one out of everyone. I just really love his performance.
It's a team effort, but Kevin Kline is the best on the team.
Yeah.
I just felt a very like sense of like Kevin Kline is so underappreciated because like throughout his career gives like just variety in his roles and in his movies that I'm like, yeah, he's a good like staple of like Hollywood movies.
He is like the emblem of a theater kid. And I mean that in the kindest way possible. Like he's just like so game for anything, and there's no role that he's done so encapsulates that as much as this one.
Yeah. He has a bit for every single moment that he's on the screen. And
When
sometimes the bit is the focus, but often the bit is not the focus, but he is still doing the bit.
He grabs his sword in Pirate King and like constantly like motions that he just cut himself from it.
And then he hits Frederick with the hand and he's like, ow! It's so good. It's very clear that this cast, except for Angela Lansbury, who replaced the Ruth on Broadway,
has like lived in these roles.
Done this role a ton because there are so many little things that you only develop as you do this like day in and day out.
Yeah,
for
like
a long
feel
time.
comfortable in the story and in the world. Because just like the little looks that they would do, there was always something to watch and to like receive as comedy.
Yeah.
At every moment.
He's also so hot.
Oh my god.
So hot.
You know what?
So funny and so hot at the same time.
The
ideal man.
I as a person, I never got the Jack Sparrow thing. I totally get the Pirate King.
Yeah, Jack Sparrow is unfortunately acted by someone who we will never discuss in this podcast. We've all entered a blood oath that we're never going to discuss that person.
Absolutely. Sworn to duty.
Thank God we've already watched Sweeney Todd.
We're all sworn to duty. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean I love Pirates of the Caribbean. That's like a top movie for me. So I do get the Jack Sparrow thing in general. But I wanted to say when you talked about the pirate craze thing that I feel like this vibe of Pirates is very Our Flag Means Death, which I'm hoping I've convinced you two to watch by now.
We have not yet, but we'll put it on the list.
Oh, you have to watch Our Flag Means Death. Listeners, you have to watch Our Flag Means Death. Turn off this podcast. Watch all of Our Flag Means Death, and then watch all of Pirates of Penzance, and then come back to the podcast.
And then leave us a review.
And then
listen to this podcast.
Please send an email. Please.
My God, I just long for a spam email to show up.
What was I talking about?
Our flag means death.
Our flag means death. No, but what was I talking about before Our Flag Means
Death?
He's hot. He's so hot.
He's
hot. Kevin Kline is extremely hot in this role, and I don't quite know how he does it because he's so goofy, and yet, still.
I would say, obviously, Rex Smith is doing a different performance that's also very goofy, but I think he's also very like charming, and I would like see it in the time. I don't see it right now.
It's not
Rex
for me.
Smith. The first thing I saw in this movie is his bulge, and his milkers.
Oh,
his milky whites, his chest,
his pecs.
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
So I was fully, and then also had, what did I call his hair? Oh, like a full Davy Crockett hair.
Yeah, he has a lot of. It's very 80s. The hair in this movie is peak 1983.
But I was like, oof, I could be in between these two men and would be a very happy. Happy girl.
No, I would have a very easy game of F, Marry, Kill. I feel like for anyone that you want to put in the third slot, I would be.
Okay,
I would have
it's Angela Lansbury.
It's Ruth, clearly.
Angela Lansbury. Yeah. F, Kevin Kline. Marry Angela Lansbury. Kill whatever his face. Yeah,
Kill
not
Fredwick.
interested.
Sorry, Freddy.
Yeah, I think this movie's really fun. I think it like really holds up because it is such a cartoon that it's like you don't even need to. You can watch it like RJ did, which is like mostly just being on your phone and checking in every 3.5 minutes.
Being a lackadaisical podcast host.
And it still works. Yeah.
I was taking notes.
Were you? You weren't checking Twitter? None of the millions of texts that I've received from you about musical theater Twitter jokes have been sent during Pirates of Penzance.
I checked the timestamps, and they were during when you were watching this film. Okay?
I gave her the link to our doggy cam, so she's been watching you not watch the movie. What do you think, either of you, generally about this movie? Good, bad?
Oh, it
Fine.
absolutely slaps. I love it so much until we get to Act 2, and then I'm very bored.
Yes,
First act, though, perfect.
I think it's
It's
fun.
truly so
I
good.
love, like you said, I love that it is a set and that it's like the players present Pirates of Penzance, and so that like even though that like that's not really a meta theatric thing that the characters are portraying, it's just the way that it's set up and you know, having the red curtains open for you and seeing everything look like a set just really feels.
I will say, slight exception to Act 1 slapping is the fact that I have to sit through an overture.
I know. Molly, I fast forwarded through it.
Static
I literally
curtains
went
Did.
overture.
He did.
Thank you,
I-
RJ.
I would
Thank you.
say-
Thank you for seeing my side
It was
on
literally just.
It was just static curtains.
Okay. I'm with Molly on this one because
Yes!
because this is a movie. What am I doing? I'm not at
Play the
least at the very
credits.
least give me the opening credits.
Play the credits. Or
I don't love
something.
just watching a blank curtain.
But that's what it is when you're in a theater, Adam. This is why I don't understand
Be-
your love for overtures.
Because there are real people in the room playing those instruments that I'm listening to.
I guess so.
Okay, yeah,
I guess
yeah,
we can
yeah.
appreciate the musicians as performers
Yeah.
on the ground.
To the pit.
Molly,
To the pit.
Molly is anti-musician.
Anti-musician.
On this
A bold stance I'm taking.
Tracks
on
only.
this musical theater podcast.
Tracks only.
Yeah, I don't respect musicians. I don't respect music directors.
It's true. It's all true. It's coming out, and she's being canceled.
That's why she's moving to San Diego.
It's all film there. You know what I mean?
No live music. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with Act 2. Act 2 is pretty weak.
They also, it's set at night, and they do the
Yes.
whole thing in blue light,
In
which
blue
makes
light,
my eyes
yeah.
feel sleepy.
Yeah.
I kept being like, okay, now I'm waiting for it to like pick up when it gets to be daytime again. And I forgot that it doesn't get to be
No,
daytime
doesn't.
ever.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. RJ?
Yeah, I also think that this movie is super fun. I agree with the sentiments that it definitely slaps in the first act, and it does get sleepy in the second act because it's more playing about like kind of Shakespearean-y, like trying to get, you know, like sneak through, like not be able to whatever.
It's very Midsummer, and I don't
Yeah.
mean that in terms of like the main plot of Midsummer, but in the terms of
It's the
like
woods.
there's
It's very
3
woods.
different groups in Midsummer that you keep following, and they all
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of keep coming around. I always
Mhm.
think that's very fun.
I would like someone to cut the movie, and you can because it's all for free on YouTube. I hope that that's how YouTube would watch it
we
too.
absolutely
Mhm.
did.
So we should do all of Act 1 intact, exactly as it is. Maybe cut out the Frederick Ruth song. That I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I had a moment where I almost guessed that one for you. Mr. Favorite.
I really like
Okay.
that song.
So okay, keep the whole first act intact. Then I just want a title card that just summarizes what's happened. Tarantara, title card.
You want
Cat, like,
full.
or-
You want silent film.
I want
You
silent
want-
film.
Yeah.
Silent film, plot, Tarantula, silent film, paradox, silent film, cat-like tread. We can go on from there.
Okay. Yeah. I
That's
think
that's what I would like
I think
to
that's
be.
right.
Which is why it was superior when I did the junior version with the 8 to 12 year
Where because all of that was cut.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, even this, like a lot of the songs are missing like a verse at least.
Yes. Yeah.
If
That's
not
it.
a
Which is
whole.
pretty wild because it does. The songs feel
Already long.
substantial. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that much. Yeah.
Listen, when you were buying a ticket to an operetta in 1879, you were getting a 4-hour experience.
They
You
said
were
I
in
want
Yeah.
to be entertained for as long as possible.
As long as you can stand on this stage, I want you to keep going because there is not a lot of stimulation in my life.
Yes, this
Yeah.
is it.
Yeah.
It's
we
this.
we gotta read these pamphlets along with watching the show.
Girl, I got a second pamphlet in my purse. I am ready to
I'm ready
go.
to
I'm
go,
sound of
girl.
musicking it with these pamphlets.
Oh my god. So I guess let's just start with the top of the show.
We had a whole conversation about Kevin Kline that I thought was going to go into Pirate
Into
King,
Pirate
and then
King.
you diverted us
You were
back
like,
into
but
Big
before we
Picture.
before we zoom in, let's zoom out.
Let's zoom out. Now let's zoom back into exactly where
Let's
we
zoom
were. Talk
back
about
in.
Pirate King.
Back in.
Let's hear it, Adam.
I am a pirate king, and it is a glorious thing to be a pirate king. I am a pirate king. You are a pirate king. And it is a glorious thing to be a pirate king. It is the love of a pirate king. The love of a pirate king.
So, the song is great, and the visual bits happening are so funny.
Say that.
Him holding on to the like woman's you know how on the front of the boat they have the
mermaid.
the mermaid on the front. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yeah.
On the ship. I need Molly to respond.
I'm pretending I don't to see how uncomfortable you can get in describing what you're describing.
Yes.
Molly, do you know what a woman is?
No. Could you define what that is?
Oh yeah. Molly has now become an alt-right comedian who's now trying to peg people for defining the term woman.
Yeah.
Very on brand for Molly at this point. Anti-musician turf.
Oh my
That is a joke. I want to be clear to everybody listening. I think everybody knows, but that's a joke.
Yeah, I always have to remember how unfortunate it is how many women are TERFs, because I just always feel like it should be assumed that I love and adore trans people. But just to be clear, very much not a TERF.
Correct. But yeah, the bit where he's like hanging on to the mermaid's like boobs and then falls in the water and like there's just like a lot of physical bits.
And you thought that was
on.
funny? That he grabbed the...
Yeah, I did. Because I'm a 5-year-old and I thought that was very funny. This is my Wile E.
Google
Coyote.
Gaga, okay? I thought it was funny.
Molly, thoughts on women?
Too many of them. They talk too much.
Soundtext notes.
Why are they 51% of the population?
It's too much. Yeah, Kevin Kline is awesome. We already talked about the pretending that he got cut by the sword thing. That's my favorite bit that he does in this first song. I just love that the song is just, I am a pirate king. And it's just like so straightforward of like, that's what this song is about, is the fact that he is a pirate king. And I feel like it really perfectly sets up the tone of the whole operetta.
I love also... there's like 3 instances of like things that are misunderstood that are plot points. Well, not necessarily plot points, but like things that happen in this movie. And this scene has the first one revealed where Ruth says, originally I was told to send Frederick to be apprenticed to a pilot, but I misheard and I sent him to be the apprentice to a pirate. And that's very funny. I just like how, like, from the get-go, it's, like, everything's not real. Like, everything's, like, a dumb joke, which is great.
More jokes.
More jokes. Less drama, more jokes in 2022.
Dear Evan Hansen.
A joke.
Any joke.
A joke.
A crumb of a joke, please.
An idea of a joke. A suggestion of a joke.
A wry smile. Anything, my God.
A glimmer of joy.
So Frederick and Ruth leave. I know we already all heard this because RJ said it, but just
RJ did truly an exquisite summary.
An exceptional job.
Thank you.
And then they end up. So what do we think about the plot of Ruth being like?
I had to like try to stop and explain, like repeat it back to Adam of like, okay, I'm understanding this correctly, right? That like she is just kind of like along for the ride of like, sure, yeah. I mean, or like she's just answering the question. So like, yeah, I am fair, I guess. And like, sure, I guess this is what we do. But Adam, you were telling me that like, that wasn't really how it is originally.
I think you're supposed to think she's duplicitous in her answers to that.
But I guess I don't know.
And for those of us who don't know, I mean, I know, but what would
and I know.
But
she is intentionally lying.
Okay,
yeah. She has bad intention. That she is.
Sure.
She knows that she's not the most attractive woman, and
she's
pretending that she is.
Thank you for clarifying that for the listeners.
For the listeners, obviously.
Just for the listeners.
Just for
yeah,
the listeners. I mean,
I think just maybe like I don't know if that she doesn't really play it that strongly. That's the Ruth that is Ruth, like at the top of the song. I feel like so.
I mean, I don't think she's like evil.
No,
I think it's just that she's like
she's a groomer.
Well, I mean, yes. If we applied real logic, it's definitely a messed up relationship because she is his maid or not a nursemaid.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's weird that she like raised him as a child.
I hope to God she wasn't his wet nurse. That means RJ. You mentioned milkers earlier, so that's what that is in reference to. Just so you know, or the listeners may not know.
I don't want to talk anymore.
So Molly, thoughts on wet nurses?
Thank you.
Doulas?
I think in that scene, you're supposed to understand that she's intentionally picking something that's not technically a lie, but like you can get away with like,
Right.
well, I've been told before that I was attracted, like that kind of thing. Because I think she's supposed to, I guess she's in love with him. I mean, it's weird that it's just like, I don't even,
that's
I'm not
the
even
thing.
clear like who brings up the concept of marriage. Like somehow it's just on the table.
It's just like on the well, I mean, it could be too of like that's what he knows, like outside of pirate life, that it's domesticity, because that's what the pirates all want to do is to get married so they don't have to be pirates anymore. So maybe that's why he's like, I'm not gonna be a pirate anymore. I'm gonna go out and I guess I'll marry the one woman I know.
Let's talk about hetero fatalism.
Honestly, kill all that.
That's what it means, right?
That's what we've been,
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's what we've been waiting. That's what we've been waiting. We've had this whole podcast just to slowly start to reveal our agenda to kill all heterosexual people. No, hetero fatalism is the idea that particularly hetero women feel this like resigned fate that like they're gonna end up with a relationship they'll be unhappy in, essentially. So that it is your destiny to end up in this hetero relationship, even to your detriment. I think that the whole joke of Ruth, I think that the idea of I literally haven't seen a woman since I was 8 and I have no one to compare you to is funny. I think that the amount of time we spend of people reacting to Angela Lansbury as if she's the most atrocious person they've ever laid eyes on is too much from a gender perspective.
Sure.
Now, would it help if it was a drag role?
No, because I don't love giving in a show where there's only 2 women who get to speak. I don't love giving one of the roles to a man.
I think also, like, I would love to see like a drag rendition of Pirates of like just the whole thing is in drag. Sure. That would be amazing. I feel like if you just put that role in drag, I think then it becomes homophobic potentially as well, and transphobic as well. For sure, depending on how you play it. So, no, and I don't think we have to fix it.
Unless they're all kids doing it, and then it's funny.
I think there's enough that's not written, that's not textual, that you could have a production in which, like...
That's not the feeling that you get from...
Or that, like, you could have it be, like, the Pirate King is, like, gay, so he doesn't want her to stay around. But,
That's fine.
All the other men are, like, Ruth is hot because we're pirates and she's the only woman on this fucking boat. That could be fun. Like, it doesn't have to.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be played out the way that they chose to play it out. Yeah.
But I didn't have a problem with it. So
Ruth clearly is. I preferred Ruth, pirate era Ruth, than nurse.
Her comeback era.
Yes.
Yeah. Renaissance Ruth.
I preferred Ruth's version. That was a Taylor Swift joke. Taylor Swift joke.
Gotcha.
I mean, look, it's much more lighthearted fun than it is like actually offensive. Yes, but like it does get a little too much where you're like, as from a modern perspective, you're like, especially since I get it.
It's right at the start too, so you're just like, ooh, okay, like what's going on?
Yeah. I will say the best though of the joke about her being old or whatever is when they have that moment in the song where they start to like be a little cuddly. And then she reveals that she's 47 years old, and he's like, 47! That's very funny.
I think it would be funny to play it where Ruth is older, but also is like actually gorgeous. I think that would be a fun version too.
Jane Fonda plays Ruth.
Well, I was thinking someone not quite as old as Jane Fonda, but absolutely I'll put Jane Fonda in any role.
87!
That would be a gag to put someone who's like much older than 47, and then it's like very clearly that line is even a lie, and he's still freaked out.
He still thinks that it's,
She's like, could I get away with 47? And he's like, 47? Oh my god!
She's like, oh dang, I overshot it already.
I overshot.
Yeah.
I should have said 32.
I should have said 32.
Great. So then we move on, and RJ's favorite song, Climbing Over Rocky Mountain, which is in RJ's notes as best song ever created.
Wow.
Music peaked.
comes
Here.
in.
All right,
Yeah.
defend yourself.
It slaps. It's a gag, and it's gooping. We're all gooped.
Wow, I'm imagining this is a PowerPoint slide as you get it.
Gooping, gagged.
Yeah, and then Dr. Silva, what would you say is the theoretical underpinning of the choices made in Rocky Mountain, if you could?
Well, I will say, just like I think I would have a better. I did not have captions up, so I feel like I would have had a more appreciation of the song more. I think if I had the pamphlet or the captions up.
So in describing why it's the best song of all time, you're going to say I didn't pay enough attention to really give you any details of the song.
Well, Molly, you watched him watch it, so you know that.
Well,
he wasn't watching the movie.
I just love. I think like
No, I'm with you.
I just love the voices of the maidens.
I love that. Okay.
Being able to play with the patter
No,
along with
Adam, don't chime in. Don't let him get out of this.
along with the like. Honestly, there's something like very like orally satisfying about hearing the octaves of these women speaking these words and saying it in that. It's giving Pick a Little Talk a Little, which is my favorite song in The Music Man.
Yeah.
So I think I just like it just the decibels are,
It's also
perfect.
Decibels.
That's the name of the group.
Yes, the decibels.
That is a fierce. Oh my gosh! If there are no female a cappella groups
But
to have that name,
I'm sure it is. But bells spelled as like
decibels. Yeah.
I would also, piggybacking on RJ, I would say
Piggy banking off of
piggy banking. I would say also the fact that it's like they're not trying to sing pretty. That it's a very like screechy, like girls having fun energy, which is very fun. It's also the most up tempo song I think at this point in the film, which is like a nice, because the song with Ruth, Faithless Woman.
It's not that drive. It's more like not ballad, but it's more it's more like epic, like.
Yeah, it's like a drama.
Yeah,
it's like a melodrama song. A drama.
And I also just love that the song is literally just like, I love being outside and look at us gaily run and laugh and chase each other.
It is the most like girlish song, and that is where I feel like I'm not bothered by the gender stuff in it, because it's like it feels so much like they are parodying this idea.
Yes, it's very guys and dolls.
To such an extreme. Yes, it goes to the guys and dolls place. Also, when I learned the music for Light Opera Works, the music director talked about how the ups and downs of the octaves is very like the effect of going up and down the Rocky Mountain, right? The climbing. So I really appreciate that little effect.
Yeah. It's fun that none of the songs in this show sound similar.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is really nice. So, Mr. Sullivan, pop off.
Props to your mama. Should we hear the girls?
Let's listen to the Guarls.
Bring the girls in. Ladies and gentlemen, the decibels.
Climbing over Rocky Mountain, skipping rivulet and fountain, passing where the willows quiver, passing where the willows quiver by the ever-rolling river, swollen with the summer rain of summer rain, drenching long and leaping mazes, dotted with unnumbered daisies, dotted with unnumbered daisies, scaling rock and rugged passes, climb the hardy little lasses to the bright seashore they gain, scaling rock and rugged passes, climb the hardy little lasses to the bright seashore they gain.
So Frederick loses his marbles. He sings like
He goes crazy. He is like, oh, what in
They
the
take
world?
off a sock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And he-
so funny.
he's so scandalized.
He loses his
He's
mind.
genuinely funny in this role.
Yeah.
A role which could easily be played by someone who like doesn't lean into the comedy of it.
Yes.
He really does. Which
There
is,
were
does,
moments
he
where I
does.
was like, I think if
I think there's more he could do for sure, but I don't think.
No,
I
I
think
did
it-
like. I
yeah.
just don't think he's hot, but I think he did a good job in the role. Yeah.
yeah, there were just moments of like, I think if you don't have like a just as like sharp in their like comedy as for the person playing Frederick, I don't think it would be as like interesting to watch like any production of it. So it's like
Yeah.
you have to have a good Frederick, like just as like equal. I feel like just as equally as talented as like all of the leads. They really have to be like on top of what makes them funny in in the show, you know.
So he sings a song called sorry. Oh, is there not one
Stop
maiden
Ladies-
breast?
Oh.
Because Stop Ladies Pray is when he stops them, and then he sings his like.
Is there not one breast here for me?
Isn't it just "Is there not one made in here"? Isn't that the title of the song?
No, it's
No, he
oh,
says
is there
breast.
not one maiden breast?
He says breast in the
Yeah.
movie.
I know that he says that word within the lyrics of it, but I thought that the title of the song was "One Made in Here."
No.
Oh, okay.
Because we're in the era where like the title of the song was just like the first
first
6
line.
words.
The
of
first lines, yeah, okay.
Great number. He does like a little Elvis moment at the end. We get the whole
Yes.
comedy.
Bye bye birdie.
We love the
honey.
comedy of girls freaking out about a man singing. It's always funny to me. Sorry. And
You should be.
then the slay of all slays, the leader of the decibels comes in, and Mabel arrives on the scene. And she sings a song called Poor Wandering One, which is slow and not terribly interesting, but the bit that this production decides to do with the song is that she is so self-indulgent in her singing that he keeps trying to like take her away, and she just like goes into another
She's
verse.
like, no, I'm not done. I'm
and
still
it's
singing so
very
beautifully."
funny. And then it leads into the end when she does the like the riff with the bird, and it's great.
Which I feel like this song's still in the same vein of Climbing Over Rocky Mountains. It's like it's a parody of like a beautiful singing ingenue.
It's a parody of opera.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
very much a parody. When I did the show for Light Opera Works, we would have guest stars often that would come in on like Thursdays. So we had someone who had done this role before, and she came in and sang, I think this song,
Aw.
or she sang a song from Pirates. And my favorite kid leaned over to me and asked, "Is that the girl from the movie?" And so I told her that afterwards, and she was like, "I'll take it, absolutely."
I will absolutely take Linda Ronstadt at
Yeah.
any given. Wow.
And she's so good in this. Like, she's so cute. Her eyes are like the size of saucers.
Her eyes are so expressive that I think like we have, I don't know, like would you say with
She's doing Princess Diana head, where she
Yeah.
like looks like tilts her head down and looks
Yeah.
up through her eyelashes.
but
It's
then
very
we'll
cute.
kind of give like almost like oh my god, I'm blanking on from Singing in the Rain, like sometime like
Debbie Reynolds.
yes, I literally blanked
Deborah.
on-
How dare you?
I know. Like where her eyes will kind of be like, can you believe what's happening? Like almost to either like Frederick or like, you know, to like the situation that, yeah, she's just very expressive.
Dessa B. Reynolds.
Mm.
Yeah, let's listen to a little bit of my favorite song in this movie, Poor Wandering One.
Poor wandering one, though thou hast surely strayed, take heart of grace, thy steps retrace. Poor wandering one, poor wandering one, poor wandering one. Take heart, take heart.
It's so funny that this is your favorite song because you are so
I'm so on
predictable.
brand.
It's like the ingenue song.
The ingenue song.
As a fellow ingenue, you know, I can really relate.
And like, I truly could sing. This is so dumb, but do you remember when we talked about Les Mis? The audience doesn't, but do you remember when we talked about Les Mis?
They'll never know.
I
And-
remember the lost tapes
And
of our recording.
did I talk about how there was like a bit in doing the show that I was like Cosette's understudy?
Yes.
We talked about this, right?
I don't remember. It got deleted from my brain along with the computer
With the
files.
files.
So there was like that bit. So I could like back in high school specifically, I could like sing. I could get to like a high D, which is like psycho. I also like my voice develops late. Like I couldn't start. I didn't speak low until like speak low. Speak low. I didn't like my
Frida
voice didn't
loves
drop
when you sing low.
until like I got to high school. Like even in 8th grade, I was like, "Hi, hello, how are we?" So
Which
lots
is sorry,
changed.
and
A
how's that
lot's
different from
changed.
your voice?
Yeah, how is that
now?
different? I'm sorry. How's that changed?
I love going to McDonald's and ordering, and then they go, "Okay, that'll be 9:37, ma'am. Pull around." And I'm like, "Okay, great." They did it more in Florida than they do here, but so
Interesting. Florida's not known for anything like that.
So I I also would, I would sing the song along with the girl who played Mabel, and we would, do the like run at the end together. It was very fun.
Friedrich's trying to hit those notes too.
Mhm.
Frederick. Oh, Frederick.
Okay, well, we're just gonna move on here.
Thanks, Fred.
No, it's a great song. It's absurd, it's cute, and it's, oh my gosh, the appreciation you can do for like the physicality of the challenge of singing. Do you know, like where you're just like, oh my gosh, you are like a marathon runner of a performer,
Right?
That you can do all of these things with the muscles in your throat. It's amazing. Yeah.
It's also funny at this point in musical theater, in the musical theater timeline, watching it in 2022, because like sopranos like don't exist anymore. Basically, like everything's become like a belty mezzo.
We took
moment,
them out,
which is
along
great.
with the heteros.
But
Soprano fatality.
we recast Marion the librarian as an alto.
What are we doing?
What are we doing? It's fine. But yeah, it's
How
nice.
dare you speak about Ariane DeBose that way?
Marion the librarian.
I thought you were making a joke about Schmigadoon.
Oh no, I was
we're talking about
Sutton
Foster.
Sutton in the revival. Schmigadoon. We still have to do it.
Patreon.
Great.
Patreon. They'll never make.
So we move on to the pirates come in. They're gonna take the women, the sisters.
They will be wedding them. Which
they
the
will be
only
marrying
part of
them.
this that I think doesn't quite hold up is that, so the whole joke's that they're going to wed them, but then Kevin Kline does go around and kisses every one of them. And not to like make it into a huge deal, but like definitely is the only part that you're like, okay, well that's like, that is actually violating their bodily autonomy, so it's kind of undercutting the joke. So I wish that it were like even more absurd and respectful. Like, what if he was going to each one and like kneeling to each to propose, or you know what I mean? Like, I think you could do it in a funnier way now when we have more awareness of those things. But on the whole, is still a pretty funny scene where they're accosting these women and singing about finding the nearest priest to marry them.
Yeah, because the line is, "Here's a first-rate opportunity to get married with impunity," which is great. Wordplay.
Wordplay.
And then we get Miss Queen herself, the Major General comes in, and now we have to listen to "I Am the Very Model of a Modern Major General."
I am the very model of a modern major general. Life, information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. I know the kings of England, and I quote the fights historical from Marathon to Waterloo in order categorical. I am very well acquainted too with matters mathematical. I understand equations both as simple and quadratical. About binomial theorem, I'm teeming with a lot of news. Lot of news. Got it. With the many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse. Many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse. Many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse. Many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse. I'm very good at integral and differential calculus. I know the scientific names of beings and animalculous. In short, it matters vegetable, animal, and mineral. I am the very model of a modern major general. In short, it matters vegetable, animal, and mineral. He is the very model of a modern major general.
It is interesting, Adam, that you said that you would play the Keystone Cop chief when I feel like
In
the
high
Major
school.
General. Oh, in high school.
Mhm.
It's still interesting that you.
You have to understand, my high school only believed that old men were big. Anytime there was an older male character, it was always whoever was the most rotund high school boy they could cast
Is an old man.
is an old man.
Hey, drama educators, stop doing that. Yeah.
Say that.
Yeah.
Say that. I will say, I feel like if we did a college version, like if we had done this in Loyola, you would have been a good Major General.
For sure.
Especially because of the bit when he frolics around the forest in his nightgown in Act
nightgown.
2.
Absolutely.
Which is probably one of the best points of comedy
Extremely
in
on
Act 2.
brand.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which is
Or
funny
to me-
because isn't that what you did in Hot Mikado? You were also in a night. No, that's Malvolio.
that was Malvolio in 12th Night.
in 12th Night.
So many roles.
Oh my god.
So hard to
stop.
remember.
I gave up. I gave it up a long time ago. My career. Do we have anything to say about "I Am the Very Model of a Modern Major
Well,
General"?
I
have information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. I know the kings of England. and I
This
quote the
is
fact
we
historical.
said we like made a
Marathon to
joke
Waterloo and order categorical.
Categorical.
that this guy is like the best. Would you say this is the best example of like the patter song in
It is
their?
the patter, I feel, in many, many ways.
I think this is. I wouldn't say this is the best patter song, but I would say it's not even the best patter song in this film because Paradox is the best patter song. But I would say that it's the most.
It's like what's on the textbook when you look
Yes.
Exactly.
at our song.
Yes.
They show a picture of this. Yeah.
My favorite bit that this one, every song has like a bit that this like production puts into it. So this one is like the moments where he like has to think about what the like how to finish the rhyme. That's very funny that they do. And then also when his last rhyme and his last verse is Satagy, and then when he does the encore, he redefines it as rode a horse because that's what it actually means in like layman's terms today.
But also I will say the MVP supporting role here is the Pirate King, because he is fully like, when the music starts, he rallies up the pirates to like, this is just like the Pirate King. So like almost telling them to be like, okay, get in formation. Like it's just going to be like that. And then kind of like egging him on for the last verse of like, let's do another one and do it faster.
Yeah.
And it's
fun.
quite fun.
I love the fact that this imagines that the thing that makes you into a great military person is just knowledge, just like rote knowledge,
Right.
which is, I feel like, again, the article I read about like very literary pirates and very like making fun of the British aristocracy of like, you all act like the way that you get risen in the ranks and you get the stuff is like, oh, well, we're just so sophisticated and we just know so much that we deserve to be in charge of everyone. And it's like, this is what that would look like then. You're a major general because you can quote the something historical. What is the line?
Quote the facts historical from
The facts historical.
from Marathon to Waterloo in order
In order categorical. Yes, thank you, Major General. So I just really enjoy. Obviously, it is again extremely impressive when you watch somebody perform it, but also I love the thing that they are making fun of. I think it's very funny.
So this is what they should have done in RuPaul's Drag Race All-Star 7. When they, in the first episode, when they had to do Old MacDonald, I was like, okay, they're going to give them hard lip syncs, like difficult lip syncs to do for the season because they're the best of the best. They should have done a Gilbert and
Major
Sullivan.
General.
They should have done Major General.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder how.
Because they had the spoken word one, so it was like, okay, you know.
Well, it's interesting though because the challenge of a patter song is obviously in part just knowing the words, which is lip syncing. But I feel like a lot of it is also the breath control to be able to get all the words out. So it's interesting. I don't know how much easier it makes it if it is a lip sync versus actually singing it.
Is it just watermelon? Is that if up close, does that read?
No, I mean you'd still have to know the word. I'm guessing you would not be able to get away with not knowing the words, but if the question is, I mean, what makes like the Old MacDonald lip sync hard is that it's scatting, and so it's unexpected the beat that things are on, so you have to remember that part. Or like a spoken word lip sync is really hard because you don't have the beat underneath you to tell you the pacing, right?
You just
so you
have to memorize,
just know the timing from hearing it so many times.
Here, it's just like a pure test of skill of remembering words.
Yeah, but I mean that could just be the challenge too, right? If we were trying to, that's a great idea of like just a RuPaul's Drag Race season where the challenge is just like hardest lip syncs you could ever do.
Yeah.
And this would be a good one to be in there for sure.
Yeah. All Winners season 2.
Season 1000 where we get the top winners of the winners season for the next 100 seasons of Drag Race. Yeah.
So we go from this into the finale, which is composed of 5 different movements.
Wait, is Paradox part of the finale? Did you skip Paradox?
No, Paradox is in Act 2.
Act 1 finale.
Act 1 finale. Gotcha.
Sorry, finale of Act 1.
Adam, you have to be more clear. No, you said finale.
Well, we're gonna rewind the tape when I listen back, baby. And either this will be left in, or
this implies that you actually edit outside of like
Yeah,
Molly remembering, hey, remove this part when you get to the
It's gonna be me saying, and here's the finale, and then it's just of Act 1. See, I said it. I don't know what you're talking about.
You've never put out an episode with a segment where you say, I'm going to edit this out, and then you forget to do it. That's never happened before. So
that's part of the comedy, Molly. It's unexpected. At this point, it is expected. I've done it so many times. So this is where he does the. He tells them that he's an orphan boy, which is a wild way to sing that phrase. But the bit right before this when they go over the second miscommunication of the film, which is the orphan.
Orphan
Orphan
often.
Orphan
is funny. And you know what? Who's on first? Also still funny. These things are funny.
And you know I think what really sells it is like how Kevin Kline just deadpans it of like, I'm just trying to get to what you're saying. When you say orphan, do you mean
someone who has lost his parents or often frequently?
And I think that's when he's the funniest, I feel like, in this movie, where he just like, I am just.
They're not playing the laugh; they're playing the like actual miscommunication.
Yeah.
It's very opening of Guys and Dolls when they pretend that they don't know what craps is.
Yes,
Mhm.
yep.
It's that sort of deadpan of like, okay, for real, we're gonna figure this out. Is it orphan or is it often?
And it's not even close enough that you have to like modify the way you say often to even kind of have.
Well, yeah, we're not speaking a British accent, so
Neither's Kevin Kline. So.
Neither.
But isn't the general speaking in a British accent?
The general,
Yeah.
Orphan.
Yeah.
And often.
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 And often.
I am an often boy.
I am an orphan boy. Yeah, it's great. No notes. This is RJ's actual favorite song. I'm about to talk about. There's a movement called Hail Poetry. Molly, do you remember this moment? It's when it becomes a beautiful choral number, and everyone looks to the sky and sings about how wonderful poetry is. And then they do like there's not swipes, like fades in and out on like characters while they sing this piece. No,
it's the absurdity.
I think I stopped fully paying attention by this point in the movie, to be honest.
Yeah. You're like, okay, I'll perk up again once Cat Like Tread is back.
Mm-hmm, yep.
Great. That's the other
This is where we do the pre-Cat Like Tread nap, is what it's known as in the biz.
Yeah.
In the Gilbert and Sullivan cruise.
In the GNS.
Yeah. There are many Gilbert and Sullivan societies. It's a whole lifestyle thing. Yeah.
It's referenced in The West Wing because Aaron Sorkin is a huge Gilbert and Sullivan fan.
Yeah. Well, the conservative lady. There's a whole thing about her loving Gilbert Sullivan. Ainsley. Yeah.
Ainsley Hayes.
Hayes.
But there are also, in addition to it being referenced in The West Wing, it is also a thing in real life that there are in many different cities, there are Gilbert and Sullivan societies where they'll all like dress up and go see Gilbert and Sullivan plays. I think some of them even will produce them. And it's a fun thing that exists because it's like kind of upper crust, but it's also like obviously they're very absurd. So it's not like, oh, we all go see Shakespeare together. It's not the same vibe of what's important.
It's not like Renaissance fair either. Like it's not like that.
I don't think people dress in period clothing. I think it's more just sort of like I'm getting done up to go to the theater, kind of dressed up.
Waistcoats.
Sure.
I think maybe even a little more modern, even than that, Adam, if you can imagine.
A vest,
a sweater.
Yeah, or maybe like a jacket, just like a jacket.
Nice little sport coat.
Little sport coat. Yeah.
A nice jean.
Maybe in certain states.
Sure. Certain towns.
Maybe Virginia.
Yeah, I think West Virginia's Gilbert and Sullivan Society does a lot of high jean wear. Yeah.
Oat jean.
This is so dumb.
So Act 2. We're going to Act 2. So Act 2 starts and the Major General is crying in the tombs on his property.
Mm-hmm. It's a spot. He likes to hang out there.
Because he is so sad that he lied. He's not an orphan, as evidenced by the many ancestors that are surrounding him.
Well, that doesn't. An orphan doesn't mean you don't have ancestors. It means that they're dead, and they would be dead.
But then he is an orphan.
Well, I think presumably he's not, but the fact that he's in the tomb is not giving us evidence for or against the idea of whether or not he's an orphan.
There is a shot in this movie that cuts to a bunch of sarcophagi.
Uh-huh.
And it's like the punchline of being like, I'm not an orphan. And then it cuts to like a bunch of coffins.
Okay, well then I think that they're...
like...
He is an orphan.
He's had many parents. Or
But-
he's had not many
No,
parents.
it's not about
Because-
the number of parents you
He's
have.
had 7 or 8 parents at this point.
You're an orphan
He's
when
been
you're
adopted.
You're an orphan when your parents are dead, right?
Yes.
Yes. So he is an orphan.
But no.
But he's not, because he's telling us he's not. I think we have to go off of what he's saying.
No, I'm not doing textual evidence here. We're doing symbolism only. I'm saying
Are
this.
we actually confused what it means to be an orphan? Is
No,
that a thing that
no.
we're not all on
Did
the
we
same
not
page
watch
about?
3 Annies for this? Oh
Well,
my god.
I want to clarify. Orphan in this context does not mean you just have parents that are dead. This means like you were orphaned young and grew up as an orphan.
Without
That's like
knowing
the
who your
implication.
parents are,
That
knowing
is,
your
yeah, that is often the way that people use
Orphan?
because we don't
That's
generally.
orphan? Sorry, do you mean off orphan or do you mean often frequent?
You have to stop. You have to stop.
You just said often, so I had to. It's a callback.
Often the connotation of orphan is that
Whoa, Molly, you
Whoa,
have to slow down.
Orphan the often?
Oh my god.
I'm so lost.
so technically
Okay.
you could call yourself an orphan even if you were like 70 years old and both your parents are dead. But usually when we use the term, what we mean is your parents died when you were still of an age where you still needed parents as like actively in charge of your life and providing comfort and care and all that stuff, right? Yeah. So I do think that it's possible that they are trying to say like, yes, his parents are dead now, but he wasn't an orphan in the way that one would expect him to use that term or whatever. But I don't remember this bit, but I don't think that it was trying to say, but actually, yes, he is an orphan based off of the fact that he has many ancestors, because that wouldn't tell you whether or not someone is an orphan.
No, I'm not saying that it's saying that he's an orphan. I'm saying that it's adding visual proof the fact that he has like a family tomb. He can't be an orphan because his whole family's there. He knows everybody in the tomb.
So you're saying that the implication of orphan here is also that you don't know.
We're arguing.
I'm not even arguing at this point.
debating.
We're on the same
You're saying that the implication is not just that your parents died when you were young, but also that you don't know who they were.
Who don't know your
I
parents or
don't
family.
think that is in the text, that is necessarily a connotation of orphan here.
Well, little orphan Annie, if her parents are alive, then she's not an orphan.
She knows, but being alive and knowing who they are two different questions.
But is it alive or is it knowing who they are?
Being alive!
But then if her parents are alive just somewhere, then she's not an orphan.
Yes!
Molly is like, I thought I would never have to speak to a child again, and here I am now.
Right. That is a question in Annie, is she even an orphan? Doesn't she correct people when they call her an orphan?
She says
I don't know. We watched
if-
3
if
versions.
you-
and I
she's
don't
not an
remember.
orphan because she
Yeah,
knows
she's
that her
not an
parents.
orphan because she believes her parents are alive. So if you don't know where your parents are, it doesn't mean that you're an orphan.
It means
If your
you're
parents
lost.
are alive, but separated from you, you're no longer in their care, but there's not even a word for that. It just means that you don't have adults to take care of you or whatever. But orphan means your parents are dead.
And again, you're saying orphan, one who has lost his parents. I just want to be clear, not orphan frequently.
Oh my god. There are only 2 songs left that we have to talk about.
This is too
Fully
important, RJ.
detour-
We have to be on the same page about what orphan means before we can continue.
It's the linchpin of the show.
Oh
Okay,
my god.
so are we in agreement?
We're in fine.
Orphan? Okay.
We-
No. Define back for me.
An orphan is someone who has lost his parents, not orphan frequently.
But define lost. Lost in the sense of...
They're gone from this
Gone.
mortal coil.
okay, great.
Oh my god.
An underutilized phrase. Great. Okay, we're on the same page. Let's talk about paradox.
Blah 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 blah. Keystone Cops. Do we have anything to say?
I wrote down, what is Sacha Baron Cohen doing in charge of these cops?
That's truly my question. He's playing in Hugo, a movie by Martin Scorsese. I don't know if you've seen it.
Scorsese.
He plays basically this character exactly. The
Sasha?
train. Yeah, he's not a policeman. He's like a train railroad manager. I don't know. I don't know what he is. But it's like
That-
the same character.
Yeah, he does look a lot like Sacha Baron Cohen, but his name is Tony Azito, and apparently he was a dancer known for this sort of hyperextension style of dancing, but this was like kind of his biggest role that he did. So I do want to make sure that when I made that joke, I also said that guy's name because he was great in this.
He's
great.
Yeah.
It's just like the Keystone Cops are the least interesting part of the show. They're just added to be like another complication to the thing.
Yeah, and they're so, I mean, like, obviously the pirates are a monolithic group, the girls are a monolithic group, but like they're the most monolithic of the monolithic group.
Right.
So there's not really much to say about them other than that guy's great, and he almost livens it up for the second act, but he cannot ultimately fight off the blue lighting in my watching.
And he's also, all of them are wearing navy blue, so it's like
And honestly, the way we are making fun of cops in this, you know, Gilbert and Sullivan were the first to say ACAB. So remember that. Defund.
Yeah, that's definitely what they were trying to get at with this. I feel really confident.
I wrote the follow-up to Molly's note that defund the police unless they are Keystone Cops that dance like this in the movie.
And then fund them more.
And then fund them more for arts.
For arts purposes.
That's, if you looked at the signs that I made in 2020, there was a small print at the bottom.
At the bottom, unless
they are
Keystone. I just wanted to make sure that all of that was kind of in there, right? But yeah.
What is this is a dumb question, and I genuinely don't know.
What is an orphan?
What's an orphan?
You
Sorry,
better not.
I need to be
You
clear.
better
No,
not.
That's not what I was gonna ask. What is a Keystone Cop? Like, it's a term that I've said for so long, but I don't know what the origin of it is.
I believe it's a reference to Benny Hill. I think Keystone Cops are the ones that dance, that go around to the and they're very stupid. But let me make sure that that's the
like whistling, flipping their little.
Oh no, it's from before that. Keystone Cops are a fictional, humorously incompetent police force featured in silent film slapstick comedies produced by Mack Sennett for his Keystone Film Company between 1912 and 1917.
Film Company.
So we have yet again a reference to the silent film era, as was in that quote from
definitely the
director.
Keystone Cops are the most clear, like, visual silent film, like.
Just from the way they move, the way they like.
There's even a part when they like speed up the film for them to like flee. Like the frame rate changes, and it looks like those like old timey silent films where they were shot on like I think 12 frames per second instead of 24 or whatever. So fun. Okay.
People love Tarantara, but we're not going to do it for this one. Sorry, y'all.
No, it's not. It's not a great song. It's
fine.
a good number to watch.
It's a good dance.
If we were a visual podcast,
which we're doing next. We're doing an exclusively visual podcast. There will be no audio at all. It'll be a silent film podcast.
This is pointing.
And title cards.
It's going to be those
TikTok videos. That...
She ate with a caption. She ate.
These Keystone Cops you won't believe what they do next. Pav, you're a Keystone Cop.
8 signs you might be a Keystone Cop.
Hey guys, get ready with me as my first day as a Keystone Cop. So first,
put a finger down if you're a Keystone Cop. Put a
finger down if you've ever lost a criminal midway through a chase. Put a finger down if you've ever knocked yourself out with your own nightstick.
This is so stupid.
Put a finger down if you've ever run into a closed door.
Put a finger down if your entire town was ever invaded by a horde of pirates and the only way that you could figure out to track them down was to simply mention the name of Queen Victoria.
Oh God.
If you've ever gotten lost in a hedge maze.
Okay, paradox.
Oh, a pair of docks because they're pirates. Get it?
No.
Docks. Where boats dock.
A pair of them, two.
And 2 of them.
I don't think that it's referencing that.
That's why they called it a paradox.
You know that Gilbert and Sullivan didn't invent the word paradox, right?
Wow, I really thought they did. For this number.
Okay. A paradox A paradox, the most ingenious paradox. A ha 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 ha. A paradox.
Paradox.
So this song is original to Pirates, and then in the movie, it is followed by, I have to think of how it starts. My eyes are fully open to the awful situation. That one, which then shows up again in.
You just sang every song in Act 2, so I don't know which one is
You
that.
don't know My Eyes Are Fully Open? It's the one where they go crazy fast. Crazy fast.
Girl, Major General was crazy.
Remember in Act 2, there is a point at which Kevin Kline does something so fast that his ending bit is he crumples to the ground and passes out.
I didn't watch this movie, to be honest.
I was on Twitter. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't remember. No, I really did.
I don't remember
I
this.
like tuned back in for Paradox because I knew that I liked it, but then I just, I struggled. I struggled this time. I'm sorry.
So what's the paradox, Molly?
The paradox is the fact that he is both 21 years old, but he's only had 5 birthdays, which is a statement that seems like it could not possibly be true when you first state it. It seems impossible, but upon further investigation reveals itself, in fact, to be true, as is the definition of a paradox.
Thank you. Have you ever met anybody who was born on Leap Day?
Yes.
I think I did.
Dude,
yeah,
have you?
I've met people in
Yeah,
don't
I
think
had
I've
a
ever
friend in
met
high
anybody.
school. I had a friend in high school who was a Leap baby.
Wow. When do they celebrate? March 1st?
I don't remember.
Probably? Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was gonna say my brother's March 1st, but
Less interesting.
It's an extremely boring birthday, as a matter of fact, unless you're actually born on the Leap Day. Yes, I love the way that this makes fun of contracts being written in like overly flowery language. That it's like, just say what you mean. You don't need to do all this birthday nonsense.
Yeah, it really takes
Hey.
lawyers down a peg.
yeah,
Yeah.
finally jokes for contract admins and
Yes. Yeah.
Taking Rita down a peg.
Yeah. Somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to bring her down and humble her. And it's Gilbert and Sullivan are the one to do it.
Stop writing all those contracts that are based on birthdays, Mom.
Well, I'm going to play a little bit of Paradox, and I'm going to play a little bit of the other one, which is not from Pirates. It's originally from... sorry, I have to look really quick. I apologize, because I didn't write it down, because I didn't think I was going to want to talk about it. Ruddigore. Matter, patter, matter, patter, matter, patter, patter, matter, matter. And it's the fastest one. So that was the one I was referencing when I was saying I think it's the most impressive patter song that Gilbert and Sullivan do. And the same, excuse me, that same melody is used in Thoroughly Modern Millie when she does the speed test. So that's the tune they used for that number in the musical. If that's interesting to anybody.
Are we pausing for you to put in the song? I'm trying to wait for you to.
And now here's everything I just said. All 6 songs.
If I had been so lucky as to have a steady mother who could talk to me as we are talking now to one another, who could give me good advice when she discovered I was erring, which is just the very favor which I knew I am conferring, my existence would have made a rather interesting idyll, and I might have lived and died a very decent individual. This particularly rapid, unintelligible patter isn't generally heard, and if it is, it doesn't matter. If it is, it doesn't matter.
If it is, it doesn't matter. If it is, it doesn't matter. If it is, it doesn't matter.
This particularly rapid, unintelligible patter isn't generally heard, and if it is, it doesn't matter. This particularly rapid, unintelligible patter isn't generally heard, and if it is, it doesn't matter.
Oh, horror! What's the matter?
So cut to Frederick tells Mabel he has to leave because he's actually still part of the Pirates because he hasn't officially ended his apprenticeship, and he won't until like 1942 or whatever, which is funny. And then they sing a love song, and that's definitely the slowest part in this whole film is their little love song together. It's weak. And then the cops come back in for another little ditty where they sing like a straight tone to each other. And then the pirates come. And Molly, since this is your favorite song, take it away.
With cat-like tread upon the face we feel, in silence thread, blah, 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 blah. I don't know the words. Obviously,
Clearly.
it is. This This is a song about how sneaky and silent they're being, and they make as much noise as anyone could possibly make. And it is a very funny bit. And it is very, very fun to sing because you can never be told that you're singing it too loud because
Correct.
you can always make a bigger choice on the song.
Correct. And Kevin Kline in this song, there are two moves he does. So there's the one where he does like the huge like steps forward. Do you remember this?
Yes.
And
this
then
I paid attention to. Absolutely.
And then there's the other one when they're on their final chorus and he does like a down, up, and it's just give the man another Tony for this movie. It's so good.
He and Frederick keep doing this thing where they like turn and touch foreheads and like sing really loudly into each other's faces, which is also extremely funny.
Yeah. It's so much fun. And then there's one part that I have never noticed before, but we noticed it last night, that like there's like a little bit of musical interlude while they're moving from like the verse to the chorus or something like that. So there's no singing happening. They're just like being loud. And you can hear somebody in the house say, was it be quiet or like cut tone it down or something like that? I don't remember what it is, but it's very funny. Take my word for it. RJ?
I love immediately after the song, and then just the lights slowly open.
I feel like you're eating your microphone right now. You're like really.
Me and Jinx, immediately after the song, the lights turn on in the house, and it's like, is someone there?
Oh yeah, it's so dumb. It's so dumb.
So good. I'm like, oh, I think I heard something.
Heard something, yeah.
And that, because that's when the Major General comes out, and he's like, oh, it must have been the wind. And then there's a whole song about the breeze and how beautiful the sky is.
And then just like pirates just like either like underwater, like sinking, or trying to like make sure they don't get seen, or like even like Frederick and the Pirate King like against the front of the house. Like, I don't remember if there was something on it that they were, and then like we pan out to the Pirate King, to the Major General, and then we pan back, and those two, like, I don't know if they were statues or something, are gone and were replaced by Frederick and the Pirate King. Just very funny.
There's also the bit in that number. Let me play a little bit of. Sorry, I hadn't played it yet because I mean we were all engrossed in Molly's lyrical performance.
Well, just do one of the
word perfect rendition.
Do one of those fades.
Yeah, my classic Adam Showgays fade.
With cat-like tread, upon our prey we steal. In silence dread, our cautious way we feel. No sound at all, we never speak a word. A fly's foot forward be distinctly heard. So stealthily the pirate creeps, while all the household soundly sleeps.
There's a bit that they do in this that I love. Anytime a movie, not a movie specifically, but a musical, anything on stage does, where people are hiding from someone, and they're behind a thing, and the person comes down stage, so obviously passes them, and then they're like, I don't know where they are, and then they come out from behind it. It's always funny. I always get a tickle from it. I think we did it in 12th Night. When you guys hide behind the like flat trees or whatever, boxwoods. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just always think it's very funny. So they do it in this, where he like comes down to dance, and then they come out from behind the cows, which are like 3 different colors.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot happening with that whole sequence.
Yeah.
I just want to say that my favorite line in the song is "A fly's footfalls would be distinctly heard." That one I know. I think that's very funny. The concept that it's so quiet that now you could hear a fly walking around.
Mm-hmm.
It is
great.
Just, I wish I had the pamphlets because they're screaming the words. You can't get a sense of like, oh, what they're saying is actually supposed to be quiet and dainty, because they're absolute best
with captions. Everything should be captioned forever. Yeah.
And then we really just move into the finale of the show,
Mm-hmm.
which is a long chase back into town. They interrupt a performance of HMS Pinafore. This is very specific to this film. This is not in the normal.
There are like chorus girls, like, you know, running around
Doing chorus stuff.
doing chorus
doing
stuff.
choral.
Mm-hmm.
And then it ends with the evocation of the name of Queen Victoria, and
Mhm.
everyone stops fighting and peace.
I
is
love her
found.
statue, her like fountain statue. It's just like, well, just another day of being me.
Yeah.
Like,
Wouldn't you
ve-
get bored of being queen after all those years after a while?
Very slouched.
Another jubilee.
Another jubilee. I've done these before, fellas. It's not my first rodeo.
And that's it.
And
the
everyone
movie.
gets married.
That's it. Everyone gets
will say,
married.
Everyone
told-
just gets into a
Paired.
couple, and then they dance around the fountain. And
I
it's
told
great.
Adam, I was like, oh, is Ruth going to end up being with the major general? And no, it was the chief, the captain instead.
Captain of
Oh, yes,
Police.
the captain of the police. And Pirate King just is another one of the sisters, right, that he ends up paired with. I don't think the major general has a pairing.
He
no,
does not.
he does not.
No.
He ends up just like leading everyone in the song.
He has enough love in his life with his 12 daughters, approximately.
Yeah.
Something like
Well, in my production, it was probably 46, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
He was a virile man.
that was my one note. I wish there were more maidens, but I completely understanding that like they, you know.
Yeah, they probably could have exaggerated that more for this
Yeah.
movie, especially since it's the only part for any women in this whole
Yeah.
show.
Yeah. I was telling RJ that I would love to see a performance of this where every group has both men and women in it. Which I don't doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily make sense for the daughters because they're obviously supposed to be daughters, but why not?
Who cares?
I think it's
I love
fun.
it.
They're
That's a
dead.
great
Who
idea.
cares?
His kids.
They're dead. Gilbert and Sullivan are
Gilbert
dead.
Sullivan, yeah.
And his parents. Right, Adam?
Right.
Good.
They're not lost. Metaphorically.
Often that's true.
Ah! So I really honestly I couldn't find any full articles or I'm sorry, reviews for this film, unfortunately. The only one I found was Bob Thomas from the Associated Press in 1983. This is the full review. I'm reading the whole thing. Pirates of Penzance is not for everyone. Oh my god. Gilbert and Sullivan purists, beware. Rock fans, watch out. But for those who like a rollicking good show full of inspired silliness and performed in high style, by all means go. This is a slightly cinematic version of Joseph Papp's long-running Broadway production, played against painted backdrops. But Wilford Leach's fluid direction, he also wrote and directed the stage version, guarantees that this is a movie. The singing is full and rich, the casting inspired. Kevin Kline is brilliantly inventive as the loony pirate king, as are Angela Lansbury as nurse, not her name, and George Rose as the triple-tongued major general. Linda Ronstadt looks and sings like an angel, exhibiting an unsuspected coloratura soprano. Another pop singer, Rex Smith, makes an appealing Frederick, and Tony Azito as chief of the Keystone Cops dances bonelessly, a marvel to watch. In times when even Disney films are rated PG, it is a pleasure to welcome an unashamed G.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Was there some resentment about Disney putting out too risque of films this year?
So this is 1983, so I believe
Like,
in 82
touched
was
it-
Black Cauldron,
Oh,
which is like the darkest.
I like Black Cauldron. Unpopular opinion.
Yeah, that is an unpopular
Okay, great,
opinion.
great.
It's fine.
To be fair, though, I haven't watched it since I was like 9, but I remember enjoying the
Ilanwi, Princess
experience.
Ilanwi, iconique. That's all I really have to say about that film, though. Tarn sucks.
I like that he says the direction really makes sure that this is a movie.
Yeah. Like,
yeah,
okay.
guarantees that this is a movie.
You're not just watching, a recorded version of the musical.
Which there was one. There is a recorded
Yes.
version of
like
the
a
Broadway
PBS
production.
Great Performances
Ah,
okay.
situation, right?
Basically, yes. And so I did actually own that in high school because of the show. And it's great. It's also great. It's fun to see them do it on stage, just to see what the staging would look like. But the people, Molly, the plebeians like RJ and myself,
Those who are below me.
those who can't reference their own doctoral thesis on the pod and ask people to buy it.
Didn't say buy it. Just said read it.
Just said read it. So D gave it 5 stars and says, Kevin Kline, take your clothes off.
Mhm.
Agreed.
We're all in agreement. This is from Friggin, who gave it 2.5 stars and said, I was in this show in 6th grade. I was a clergyman and I had no lines. I got scared off by the pirates and run off stage within the first 2 minutes. I went to every rehearsal. I have COVID-19 right now, by the way.
Oh my god. So he was in your production that you did?
Maybe.
With
You
you
never
in
know.
high school? Yeah.
You never know.
Mhm.
No, we did not do the panto at the beginning of the clergy, like the people running off stage. It just starts.
I
in the
mean,
boat.
anything to fill in some of that overture.
Not when there's live musicians. It's those live musicians.
Boo.
It's those high schoolers playing
Oh,
instruments. You know, that's
yeah.
always gorgeous.
It's always
Our
gonna be-
orchestra was actually iconic because one of our nuns was a violinist in our orchestra for all of our musicals. Yeah.
That's very cool.
That's crazy.
Sister Marie Therese.
Which one was she in Sister Act?
She, I would say it's like a little bit Alma and a little bit Sister Mary Roberts. It's like those two together.
Okay.
Oh, fun,
Sure.
fun,
Fun. And then Maya gave it 4 stars and says, this fucks. So,
Absolutely.
great.
I think my favorite part about Letterboxd is that because it's a fairly new app, all of these are like rewatches from the last like 2 years, basically.
Mm.
So it's fresh. Millennials and Gen
Fresh
Z
on people's
freshly
minds.
like, what was this movie?
I think in general, Letterboxd reviewers are very much typically cinephiles. And so they don't leave a review unless it's like fresh in their mind. They're not going to be
Yeah.
like, oh, I remember I watched Rocky when I was 11. So now I'm going to comment on it as a 30-year-old.
Yeah.
Or I watched Black Cauldron when I was 9 and I remember liking it, so I'll just take the opinion that the worst Disney movie is actually pretty good. Just assume that I'll stand by it. Yeah.
Molly!
I wrote a closer, but we've been doing MVP before closer, so
Oh yeah.
We already
did
did
do a
it.
quick detour for MVP.
I said Kevin Kline at the very top. And then you were like, made fun of me because I didn't go straight into Pirate King.
I was making fun of you not for that. I was making fun of you for having us all talk about Kevin Kline and then go, wait, what do we all think of the movie in general before we were able to go to Pirate King?
Okay, Pirate King. Kevin Kline, MVP.
RJ. Manuel Miranda?
I'll say Linda Ronstadt as Mabel.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, I would have said, no, I'll change it. I'll say Rex for
Frederick.
Frederick.
Great. Well, you're a fool. It's Kevin Kline. That's the only correct answer. I just want to make sure that we had a chance to all say that. Great. Closer. Pick a pop culture figure to be the primary creative force behind, I don't know, I wrote between in this, primary creative force behind a 2002 revival of operetta.
2002? Orphan?
We're going to do this again. Pick a pop culture figure to be the primary creative force behind a 2022 revival of the genre of operetta.
I feel like obviously
The genre is a concept,
Honestly-
not pirates, but like the
honestly-
No,
whole-
not pirates. I mean, like, we're gonna do like we're gonna do neo operetta. It's gonna be a new thing that
Wow.
we're gonna like bring it out of its grave. It's gonna be a new hot ticket on Broadway. Who would you like to see come up with our new version of operetta?
honestly, I don't want him to be the sole creative force. But
Okay.
I want him to
Don't
be.
say it.
I want him to be in the team.
Don't say it.
I think Aaron Sorkin.
You want him to be the lyricist.
The lyricist.
Don't
Would
direct.
he be
Mama,
fun?
don't direct.
He's not a good director.
Mama.
Would he be fun enough for operetta?
That's why I'm saying he
Can he
needs to be
have fun?
surrounded with like fun people.
I mean,
Okay.
Sports Night is a great comedy.
yeah.
That was
Okay.
his
He
show
can
before West
He
Wing.
can write a good script. He just needs women to help to be involved or
To
around
speak.
him, so that way the women
Yeah.
are real people.
Great.
This is hard. Who would I want to bring back? Because it feels like the most important aspect of operetta is lyrics.
Yeah, and like you could. I mean, like
Pamphlets.
Lynn, I feel like is the
It's the obvious choice,
obvious choice, but I feel like there are other.
but I don't think
people
he
out
would
there.
do good operetta.
Yeah, I feel like there are others that like when given the opportunity to challenge themselves, they could pull.
I think we should do more vibes than we should actual talent and skill at being a lyricist.
Okay.
Like Katy Perry is the creative force behind operetta, kind of a kind of a situation.
This is our second reference to Katy Perry. Because on our Mamma Mia episode, we said Katy Perry music was the one that we were going to pick for.
Okay, well, she was pretty famous, so I think 2 references to her in a podcast we've been doing for
It's
a year
fine.
is not exactly
I'm sick
out of
of
the
it. I'm
realm.
sick of talking about
Okay.
it.
Honestly, I'll give it. Let's do Lizzo. Because she would have a great year for orchestra because
The flute, the
flautist.
flute.
And I feel like her rap lyrics is like very accessible and fun.
Yeah.
That could be fun romp of an operetta. And I think she would do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna also go big swing of like someone totally in a different genre, and I'm gonna say Hannah Gatsby of Nanette.
Wow.
Oh.
That could be
Yeah.
interesting. That could be super interesting.
Okay. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, first name that comes to my mind.
Joseph R. Biden.
Hillary Rodham Clinton. First of all, Joseph Robinette. That's his middle name. We love it. No, I'd say Hunter Biden for sure. Half orphan.
Bipartisan.
Oh,
A bipartisan.
Don't say that, Adam.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
Hunter Biden with Don Jr. They come together.
And just say like, what a
meeting-
crazy world we lived in together. Huh?
A Biden Trump production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. The new Gilbert and Sullivan. Biden Trump.
I mean, yeah.
But actually give a real answer too.
This is hard. Just vibes. Just vibes.
Just
Somebody who
vibes.
I think is funny. If what's his name?
Oh,
hold on,
perfect.
hold on.
Perfect call. Yeah.
He always does the musical sketches on
Yeah.
SNL.
Does he do it often?
Orphan, yeah. What is his name?
The
You know what I'm
musical
talking about.
sketches. Andy
The-
Samberg?
No, the one, not musical sketches, but like musical theater sketches. The ones where they're like in a diner.
John
and it-
Mulaney.
Oh,
John Mulaney.
John Mulaney.
Yes.
That's a brilliant
great-
call.
Because
I
he's
love it.
very,
Yeah.
he loves wordplay. He
Yeah.
very specifically likes picking specific words.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, John
That'd be
Mulaney
great.
would be great. I also think that genuinely, if we were going to do this, we would want Neil Patrick Harris to be our lead in the first, whatever the first show was that was reviving the genre. I think
it's a
shoe in.
Yeah, I guess.
Sure.
Oh, I guess is Neil Patrick Harris coming for your gig a little too much there, Adam? Are you not comfortable with me referencing Neil Patrick Harris?
He stole my career, but it's fine.
Yeah. He was maybe about 20 years ahead of you in terms of getting into that career, considering Doogie Howser, but sure.
Yeah, whatever. I don't want to talk about that. Or Darren Chris.
He stole my career, so I don't know.
I'm now
okay,
just
yeah,
referencing
yeah.
the other person that. Yep.
Who,
Well,
I feel like we have to pick somebody that stole my career somehow, just so that we are all even then.
Sylvia Plath.
So stupid.
Yeah. Just barely beat me to the punch on that one.
I think Mary Curie. I think.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Women who died tragically. Oh my god.
For their work.
La Traviata. Yeah.
No,
for
honestly,
sure, yeah.
what's her name? Who wrote Camp? Susan Sontag.
Susan Sontag.
Honestly, it's absolutely Susan Sontag.
Oh, that could have been your dissertation, but she already wrote it.
She already did it. Damn it.
Damn it. Well,
And you guys were neck and neck too. I feel like.
Yeah, we were really like having a bit of a write-off, and she just barely published before me.
just minutes before.
Minutes.
Much like 20th Century Fox releasing a pirate movie 6 months before Pirates of Penzance.
Yeah.
Very much same vibes. Everyone watch Our Flag Means Death. And also
Everyone
this
leave a
movie.
review, send us an email.
Please send me an email.
So we'll be expecting an email, October 20th. So
Uh-huh.
we have another 6 weeks of not having emails. Great. Well,
You got me, gals.
You got big else.
I'm gonna take us out with my favorite song that's not in this movie.
Okay.
How beautifully blue the sky, the glass is rising very high. Continue flight, I hope it rain, and yet it rained but yesterday, tomorrow it may pour again. I hear the country wants some rain, yet people say, I know not why, that we shall have a warm July. Tomorrow it may pour again, I hear the country wants some rain. Yet people say, I know not why, that we shall have a warm July. Tomorrow it may pour again. Thank you for listening to the best revival of a podcast, Showgays. You can find us on social media. Adam is at Adam Noecker on Twitter. RJ is at RJ Food Rocks on Instagram. And Molly is at Molly Matiny on Instagram. This episode was edited and mixed by Adam Noecker. This has been an Ampliverse production. You can find our show page and more information at theampliverse.com. If you'd like to send us your own takes on the movie we just watched, reach out to us via email and we might read it aloud on the show. Our email is showgaysmoviemusical@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your podcasts. And as always, rate, review, and subscribe to help others find the show. And now, as always, the show must go on, so stick around to hear what we're going to be watching next episode.
2 options. You either follow my rules or follow my rules. Capiche?
Thank you.
I can do it a different way.
No, that's fine. Thank you very much.
You're fired.
It's Christmas.
Yeah, I see the decorations. Good luck in the new year.
I just heard you play, and I wanted... It's pretty strange that we keep running into each other.
Maybe it means something.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't think so. You could just write your own rules, you know, write something that's as interesting as you are.
What are you gonna do?
I have my own club.
Is that gonna happen every time?
I think so.
How are you going to be a revolutionary if you're such a traditionalist? You're holding on to the past, but jazz is about the future.
Maybe I'm not good enough.
Yes, you are.
Maybe I'm not. It's like a pipe dream.
This is the dream. It's conflict, and it's compromise, and it's very, very exciting.
Discovering voices.